Hey guys, it's Jeff from Home Renovision. Thanks for joining us today. Today's episode of Work with Jeff. Today we are doing the floor tile in my office project. We're going to do some hanging out. We're going to show you some tiling procedures. We're going to answer some questions. We're going to take some live phone calls. It's going to be a heck of a day. Probably going to take a few hours to get this one done. So sit back and relax. And if you're watching this on the replay, enjoy the show. Make sure you get an opportunity to join us next time we go live by becoming a subscriber to the channel. And you'll get notified of these types of things, okay? And we'd love to have you join us. It's a great opportunity for us to just hang out and chill out together and learn from each other. Also, jump in the chat. If you see things that I'm doing that you do differently, and you want to share your expertise or your experience, that would be awesome. Love to see people sharing their experience on this channel. That's what I'm here to do. I'm not an expert in everything, but I do want to just share what I know, help everybody get from this step to this step to this step so that you can all do your renovations and get great equity in your projects, okay? Want to help see people get ahead in life, and working on your hands and knees and blood, sweat, and tears is a great way to do it. All right, so we've got two cameras set up today. I'm going to be back and forth in the project, mixing and cutting out here, on my hands and knees in there, laying tile. And we're going to take a break every 15 or 20 minutes to answer some questions and take some live calls. So if you've got a question, be ready for that. I've also got my whiteboard here if we need to do some drawings to help explain some things. Happy to do that. Want to see you guys successful in your project. If you're going to take the time to hang out live with me, you're going to get everything that I got to offer. All right? Happy to do it. So let's just jump into the other room. We'll explain the project, we'll do the layout, and we'll get on with the show. Cheers. Okay. All right, guys. Well, this is my office. And we'll try to move the camera around a little bit as we go, but right now I wanted to leave space up at the front. I got to lay the first couple tiles off camera. There's just not enough room for the camera to zoom in. And that's fine. But literally what we're going to do, we're using some large format tile today. Okay? And by large, I mean not 12 by 24. Holy cow. That's some serious adhesive. I mean 24 by 24 porcelain. Yes, I'm in my double wide trailer here in Florida. Yes, this is kind of an odd bird to do in a double wide, but I did add a 5/8 plywood and I did put down my Ditra already. So previously, Ditra on 5/8 plywood subfloor actually is rated for up to 24-inch on center, okay? It's incredibly strong underneath. And because this trailer is only 12 feet wide until it has a center beam, and it has an extra support beam down here, the 2x6 framing is a none effect. There's really no rule that says you can do this, but because I'm not planning on moving the trailer, I don't care. We're just going to go ahead and do what we do. Now, we have to be careful because we do have a grain. All right, we want to make sure that all the grain is heading in the same direction throughout the whole floor, so it looks like it was cut out of the same rock. If you change the direction for one piece, it just screams stupid. All right, so let's not be stupid. And before we get jumping into this, I'm going to take 2 minutes, see who's in my chat. All right, I got a mouse here. Let me do this. Paul here is Frank's here. Joseph, Martin, Rain is here again. Joseph is here. Great to see all of you guys. All right, cheers. Welcome to the show. I'm going to get on my knees today. So I've got a new pair of knee pads that I'm absolutely loving. They just zip right on. There we go. Now, I met this guy at a trade show in Vegas. He's a new startup. Hopefully, we'll be able to get in contact and make these things available for you guys. No promises quite yet, but I'll tell you one thing. My team has been working really hard at looking at opportunities to help get things available to you guys that you otherwise wouldn't have. And so hopefully in the near future, we'll have some announcements about some exciting things we're doing. Now, what I'm doing is just a simple layout. My room is really odd. This side, it goes in, and it's made for potential to have a laundry. And I've got this little cubby hole here where you can sit at a chair. Now, when I'm doing a tile job, the first thing I do is I think layout. And so I'm looking at what's the most obvious tile in the room, and that's right up against the cabinet. So I want to make sure that those are always perfect. And if I'm going to have cuts, I'm going to have cuts inside. I'm going to have cuts on the other side. This is behind the door here, so I'm not really concerned about what happens there. This is the most important part right here. And what I'm going to do take a chalk line, okay, and just catch the edge of my tile. There we go. I'm just going to run it down here. And that's going to be my line. All right. There we go. Now I have a line laying my first couple of stones, and I'm going to be able to do the whole project off of that line going left and right in both directions. Okay. Nice and simple. All right. Now I've got my cement mixed up already. We're going to have to do a few batches here today, so we'll have plenty of time to learn some ins and outs about that. Let me just get it and get started. Oy. All right, now today, I've got my son Matthew back in Ottawa, and he is joining me for the live show, and it's his job to make sure that he keeps switching the camera feeds. So I got 2 cameras, 2 computers, 2 uploads to the StreamYard service that we're using for this. And so if we lose a feed, I'll just jump out to the other camera until we can sort that out. Shouldn't be a problem. Like I said, we're using large format tile. So here's my trowel today, guys. 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. Leaves a really nice big trowel line, and it allows you to collapse the ridges and get great adhesion. We're going to go through all those steps in just a minute. First step with Ditra is to fill in all of these little squares with thin cement. I know you can't see the first tile off camera. I'm just going to make quick work of this one. And then I'll be able to go through my process real quick. All right. Remember, we are going to be taking live calls today. So if you got a question about a project, you might write them down now and be ready to go. Here we are. And I'm just filling up all the squares from that blue chalk line to my left or your right, depending. All right. Once I've got those full, and I'm comfortable that they're full, really important, every one of these little orange squares is full of cement. It's part of the structural integrity of this. This is an uncoupling membrane, so the bottom of it on the fleece has the ability to expand and contract with the flooring, the subflooring underneath, and the top part expands and contracts with the tile independently. So each of these little squares becomes a structural load point. And if they're not filled, you're cheating yourself because you're getting rid of your structural capacity, and then the product will fail. And even if you call Schluter and say, hey, your product didn't work, they'll come and check it out and show you how you screwed up. All right, now this is back butter. Whenever you're doing large format tile, always that extra thin set. The more inconsistent your floor, the thicker you want to put it. Okay. My floor is actually pretty inconsistent. I'm not going to scrape it on too hard. I'm going to put it on pretty aggressively and try to go to as close to 100% coverage without making a mess. No. Okay. Now, here we go. Now, with large format tile, you have an option. You can use your hands, you can get messy, or you can buy suction cups if you've got a nice flat surface. I just don't see the necessity for that. To me, suction cups are for a really big tile. Now, we're going to throw on our more thin set now. I almost forgot. I was so busy chatting. And we're going to do some directional troweling towards ourselves, creating a bed of cement for this tile to sit on. There we go. And this is the last chance you have to have any integrity about your project. So if you're not happy with something, fix it. Okay? That's the difference between the pros and people who have excellence in their work. Pro means you get paid to do the job. Having excellence means you do great work. All right? There is a huge difference. Now I'm going to set my grain pattern up so it's going across the room. Help make it look a little bit wider. Set it in place. Find my blue line and then slide it down. collapse my ridges. Okay, nice and simple. We'll do the same project over here for the second tile. We're just going to confirm that it fits, and it does. There we go. So if anybody here doing any tiling work in the near future, I'd love to hear. Maybe take a minute here and tell me what kind of renovation programs you're all involved in. Love to know what kind of projects you're involved in here, guys. Helps me decide what kind of content to do for our live shows, which are every Tuesday, in case you weren't aware. All right. If I miss a live show, it's because tragedy has struck my family. Opportunity has made it impossible for me to do it. And when I say opportunity, I mean something's come up that's going to be an amazing opportunity for you guys. Let's just check out this here. We got. You're doing a whole house. Wow. Oh, cheers, Ashley. Cheers to Alessandro. Members are in the chat. Guys, if you're not a member yet and you're doing a whole project, consider joining. I've been busy the last few weeks, but I'm caught up again in the forum, which is a special place where our members can go and ask questions and upload pictures. This $5 a month. And you know, the funny thing is, a lot of people think I've got people helping me on that, but right now, it's just me. So, if you're a retired contractor and you think you might be beneficial to help the crowd, then feel free to reach out. I'd love to have a conversation about possibly getting more guys involved in this, especially if you're an electrician, plumber, retired structural engineer. That would be amazing. Okay, now we're going to get more into depth from this in a minute. But I am using a leveling clip system today. I'm using the one that's sold at Home Depot because I want to make sure that when I'm doing a project, you guys are able to get access to the products. There's a ton of options out there, okay? But like anything, it really is all about being clean. All right? So we want to get our clips on before we put down our product. Here we go. Okay. There we go. So, I made a bit of a mess. Okay. Remember what I said about integrity, right? If you got to fix it, but don't go forward until you do. There we go. We're going to set that on our clips. There we go. Loving that. All right. Is less more in this case? No, it's about the perfect amount in this case, actually. This isn't drywall compound. This is thinset. And in the world of flooring science, there's an exact amount of thinset that you're supposed to use based on the size of the tile. And so we can always go through that to help you pick the right amount for your project. But basically, when you're dealing with large format tile, and that's anything bigger than 10 by 12, or 12 by 24, it's 1 foot by 2 foot. Anything bigger than that, you want to make sure that you've got a 1/2 inch bed so that you have this bump that gets squished under compression. And that creates positive contact through the majority of the whole stone, okay? Now, we're going to get past this row and into the next row, because then I can actually show you what I'm up to versus talking about it. That'll get on camera. But first, I've got to cut a piece of stone over here for this side, right up against my wall. All right, let's get a measurement here. I got 3.5, perfect. Let's go 3 3/8. The way you determine that is have your trim handy, Okay, this is my baseboard, and it's a decent quality. It's a Home Depot special value pack. You buy 10, you get a great price. The thing to know is that the thickness of this wood, it's only 5/8. Traditional high quality lumber for baseboard is 3/4. Okay, so when they sell you a 5/8, you got to be real careful about your movement of your wall and your gaps and your cracks. And sometimes you've got to measure 3 points along a stone because your wall can be out of square. So take time to make sure that every gap on that wall is going to be less than this. So when you do install it, you cover all the gaps and you're not going to have something screaming rookie time. All right. Now, I don't remember what I just said. I think it's probably 3 3/8. Yeah. Let me get the next piece of stone here. All right. See that? That's the wrong angle. That's the right angle. This is my cut. I'm going to measure from this edge. We're going to go out to the saw. And we're going to mark and cut this. There we go. Now, it's a little dark out here right now because this is Florida in the afternoon. But now this is a semi-gloss tile, okay? And 3 3/8, I'm going to use a dry erase marker. Yes, this is my secret weapon. Dry erase markers. Because they wipe off. There we go. It doesn't look right, but yeah, it's right. Okay. Now, I've got a simple little wet saw table set up. And I'm going to do a couple of cuts on this, and then whoop, later in the show, I'm going to use my 4-inch grinder. I'll do a couple of cuts on that. I know I'm not a big fan of the safety tools, but when it comes to something like this, you don't have much of a choice. Let me just get a nice long straight line here. There's 2 ways to do this. You can mark the whole line. You can measure with your finger and then, okay? Or the other thing you can do is you can just line up where it cuts on the blade. And in this case, I'm going to go backwards because it's a bigger table. And there's grooves in the table. I don't know if you've got a saw like this, but it works great. And I'm using a basic rigid blade for porcelain tile. Found at Home Depot. It's about $40. And it would be nice if I plugged that in. I don't know what it is about me and my tools. I'm forever never plugging them in. This is plugged in. Maybe that cord doesn't work. All right. We'll go direct. Yeah. When's the last time you're on a job site and everything went perfect? There we go. Now remember, it's always spitting water out. So try to stay to the side. Otherwise, you're just going to fill your glasses with water and you won't be able to see. Best practice, rock it off the blade, turn it around the other side so that when you finish your cut, it doesn't chip. A small little bit at the end almost always breaks off. There we go. Now, stop raining on me. I'll just show you this, guys. Okay, so here's where the blade intersected. It's a bit of a chip, but this is additional material. If I just ran all the way through, it might have chipped this way. And that exposes that corner to outside the baseboard area, and that looks unprofessional. So that's what we don't want to do. Yeah, now that I'm back inside the other room, I'm going to, again, back butter. Now you might say, Jeff, why are you back buttering? That piece is too small to be considered necessary to back butter. Truth is once you start, you've also established a depth of the assembly that you've got to maintain. Now, First problem, I didn't prep the room entirely. Because it's a trailer, I've got some plastic inside and outside corners. I'm just going to trim that back so I can get my tile underneath. Oh, come on. And just picked this up today. There we go. All right. That's out of our hair. I can put my tile in underneath that trim. And I'm going to cut that to the right size later. And I already made a mistake. I got that on backwards. Here we go. Doesn't really matter at this point. The same amount of thin set everywhere. Okay. All right. Now, one of the things you're going to want, guys, is make sure you got a pail and a sponge handy. Grab yourself a margin trowel. It looks like this. Okay. These are great. You can use this to clean extra thin set out of gaps and cracks. When you're using a tile leveling system, you want to try to keep everything as clean as possible, because extra thin set ends up causing you issues breaking off those tabs. Okay, we don't want that. And then if you end up in a situation where you've got too much, you can take a pencil or a screw or another tab, set in the grout line. You can take all the extra cement off, okay? I like to use a pencil if it's handy, because it doesn't have any ability to scratch the stone. But hey, work with what you got. Fixing that problem is better than leaving it. Okay, there we go. Now, if you're wondering what happened to the finger, this is just not working. We're going to go full Rambo. Trying to keep it dry, but this is just not going to happen. Tile jobs are incredibly wet environments. Yep, I was setting up the studio today, and I cut the tip of my finger off. Nothing too dramatic, though, just the skin. Okay, now it's exposed to the air. It's stinging like a bugger. Oh, my goodness. Let's get my Band-Aid on. These situations, having a little bit of electrical tape around is just a miracle worker. Okay. Fold that over. One more time around. Probably end up changing that a few times today, but it'll keep me out of trouble. All right. Now we're at that point where it looks like we'll be able to talk about this on camera. Yes, fantastic. Whew. We'll do a couple more tiles, and then I think at that point it should be, yeah, time to take some phone calls. So let's do this. Let's walk through the steps. We'll do a couple more tiles here while the thin set is still in good shape. And then we'll take some calls, and we'll talk about the science and behind the materials. Say hello to more people. Okay. We'll talk about my choices here today, what your other options are. There we go. Now, first thing is first. Let's get these squares all filled up. Really wasn't planning on doing more than 4 tiles to start with, but I just made this huge batch of thin set. It's just part of my DNA as a contractor, right? I was going to just make some half pails to get started. Now I'm feeling guilty about putting it to waste. I hate wasting good thin set. All right, here we go. Product we're using, now that you can see it. It's white. It's a modified thin set. And for anybody out there who's a tiler, you know you're not allowed to use modified thin set on Ditra. Now, Ditra makes a modified thin set. It's called All Set. And it's been modified to act like a modified thin set, which means it dries and it cures as it dries. It also acts like a non-modified thin set. It can, which traditionally dries by and cures by staying wet. So you got a modified that cures by getting dry, and you got a non-modified that cures by staying wet. Two very different issues. Whenever we're working with plastic, membranes, waterproofing, large tile, these are kind of environments that keep things from drying out. So generally we use a non-modified. Now, folks at Schluter are so smart. They had so many years of people having problems keeping that straight, and all the TV and the fact they someone holding Depot, and they didn't give courses to homeowners, and all kinds of people are buying their product and having failure issues because they were misusing the technology. They decided they would engineer their own thin set to solve all those problems. Spent a lot of years in R&D, and they did it. So now we have a modified thin set, which acts traditionally and non-traditionally at the same time, so that no matter what project you're doing, you can be guaranteed you're going to get a great bond. Now, it's not a $6 a bag product, obviously. It costs a little bit more. The truth is, compared to the guarantee that you get for homeowners, the cost is a non-issue. Because when you have something that's guaranteed to work, it gets the guesswork out of it. You don't have to worry about making mistakes. I've known tons of contractors who made the same mistake, who took the courses, who thought they knew better, and just mixed up the technology in their own mind and ran into all kinds of problems. So, if the pros can make mistakes, consider this. You can make mistakes too. Maybe the best course of action is to spend the extra $8 a bag, like $8 more, and you can have a guarantee. All right? I'm saying that's money in the bank. So, when you're doing your next tile project, if you're going to use a thin set instead of an adhesive, make sure you pick up All Set, because you can use it to set your mortar beds. You can use it to set your tile project. You can use it to install your Schluter membranes, your Schluter Curdy boards. You can use it for wall tile. You can use it for floor tile. You can use it in wet spaces. You can use it in dry areas. I'm putting a lot of thin set on here because I'm talking too much. And it'll guarantee that you never have a problem. Okay? Now, in life, especially in building science, there aren't too many times you get a guarantee. This is one of them. Take advantage of it. Because when you can eliminate variables, it's a good thing. Most people don't take into account the geography and their climate and the age of their home when they're considering building materials. They just go with what their favorite celebrity says on HGTV. And that can be devastating. So, take advantage of the guarantee. And, use a product that works every time. Now, I got the grain in the right way. I got my 1/2-inch trowel. I back buttered. I set it. I'm not in line. Because now I'm going to push as I slide. Okay? That's where I want it to be. Pressure, pressure, pressure. Things are uneven. That's okay. That's what the clips are for. Now the back of this is so full of thin set. You can just use these clips to help create an even surface. All right? Now, let's just do this one more time. Here's the process. You're going to take your margin trowel. Get it clean. Okay? Because you don't want thin set there. All you want there is a little bit of a hole. All right? So that we can slide these underneath and make positive contact. Okay? So we'll go over the next tile. And we're going to start taking calls in just a minute. Once I get a chance to stand up, get on my feet in front of the other camera. Okay. Okay. There we go. Now, this is not a wet area, so I only need like 80% coverage. But coverage equals protection against breakage. Okay, now porcelain's generally pretty tough, so it doesn't break that easy. But it's a good habit to get into. Get great coverage. And what we're going to do is we're going to start again installing this about 1/4 inch to the right, your left. And we're going to put pressure on it and slide it over. And just so everybody at home can see, I'm going to pop this one off so you can see what it looks like on the backside. And then we'll do this all over again, just so that you guys can understand what good coverage is supposed to look like. Ooh, yummy. Okay. Now, this was smooth, right? And now I've got all these peaks all over the place where the cement bonded to the tile. Now, remember I told you this floor here has got a lot of movement. On this side, I had a better bond because it has that whipped cream look. Same with the other side. And this is more like a thin mountain range. Probably because this is lower than that two sides. Okay, so that's okay. One of the reasons I bought porcelain is because I knew that this project was not going to be as structurally sound as a brand new home construction. And if you've got an older home with a little bit of inconsistency with the floor joist package, which happens whenever you've got dimensional lumber, all right, remember modern homes have got engineered floor joists. They're designed to make floors out of large materials. Old homes are not designed for large materials. Here we go. We'll lay this down again, do the same thing. All right, here we go. Okay, the sponge, installing it twice always makes a mess. Clean as you go, especially if you're in the business, guys, clean as you go. Homeowners want to see it. And the truth is, even as a homeowner, especially if you got kids, life happens. Things come up, you get pulled away from your job site. If you leave a pile of cement laying around, you get pulled off the job site. 9 times out of 10 when you do that, that's when you have to go and you get distracted and you can't come back. Wipe the edge of your stones. Make sure everything's nice and clean. All right. Whew. And then if you're not sure if you're going to get back in time, put your clips underneath. Something happens, this can dry in place, waiting for the next day. Not a concern. Okay. Yeah, we can work around those just fine. Same thing over here. I'm going to go underneath the desk. All right. Now, I'm just going to get up here, get myself a beverage, and relax a little bit. Stand up like a grown man and jump on the other camera. Oh, wash my hands and say hello. Ah, there we are. Well, hey guys. It's a beautiful day out here in Florida. 82 degrees. The sun is shining. It is the fall. It is dry season. And you can pretty much guarantee this time of year that you can do your outdoor projects in comfort. All right, let's get all this water away from the technology. Now, the crazy thing here is, I am not sure, but Matt, if you can hear me, I can't see the chat on this feed, oddly enough, because I think I was invited on the feed and not part of the feed. Anyway, we'll fix that for the next time. Matt, maybe you can throw up a couple of questions for me real quick that are in the chat we can answer, and then we'll jump into the calls. I got to take the phone off of airplane mode before we can take calls. It's the only guarantee that I got. Since I can't see the chat from here, Matt, if you can throw up a couple of questions for me from the chat, that'd be appreciated. All right. Okay, so Alessandro says, sorry, late to the party, Jeff. Are you doing heated floor here? No, I'm not heating the floor. Very similar process, though, Alessandro. If you're doing a heated floor, you get a different membrane. This is the regular Ditra. There's also a Ditra XL, which is a thicker pile. Basically, it's designed just to make sure that your tile height can match up with your other finished floors, so you don't have height adjustments. The Ditra Heat also comes in the regular and the XL, but it has a different configuration. It's more of an octagon shape. It's designed for running that heating cable. Same thing, you run the heat cable, and then you fill all the spaces with your thin set, and then you lay your tile just like I am here. But great question. All right. Now we got one more from King here. Banana. When should you use the orange base? All right. Well, here's the deal. In flooring, you have a rule, and it's called the 1.25 inch rule. Now, as long as you have 1.25 inches of wood substrate, whether it's plank or OSB or plywood or a combination of both, generally you have to finish with a plywood though. So it can be OSB or plank underneath. Finish with a plywood. As long as you've got 1.25 inch total thickness, and your span isn't more than 16 inch on center, every joist, you can tile direct to the plywood. Or you could get rid of the plywood, put thin set and cement board and get 1.25 inch that way, and you can tile. What this does is it gives you the strength of 1.25 inch in a much smaller profile so that you can have your regular OSB. And let me just draw this out. This will be easier, okay? Maybe this will help. You have your regular thickness of OSB, and then this little thin piece of membrane, thin set and tile. This equals 3/4 inch, which is the same height as hardwood flooring. So if you have hardwood on OSB, okay, then you can go membrane and thin set and tile, and it comes to the same height as your hardwood floor. And that's how you install two different kinds of products without a transition in height. And that's why it was designed that way, so that rich people don't have to have little bumps in their floors. It's also great if you've got folks in your life with wheelchairs and you want to create a no barrier zone throughout the house. You can transition from tile to hardwood really easily. All right, let's take a couple of calls here. I'm going to take off the airplane mode. There we go. That ought to do it. Make sure my volume is up. There we go. We're open for business, guys. So hit me up with a phone call. Matt, throw another question on there real quick while they're making their phone calls. Rachel and Nick, in what situations do you want to use larger tiles? Great question. Guys, I'm going to get right back to that in a second. Hello, Jeff here. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, my name is Elsa.
Hi, Elsa. What can I do to help you? Got a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, I didn't see where he explained in the live day he's doing right now how he decided where to start the tile to build up from, like how he determined the layout.
That's a great question, Elsa, and it's actually me. I'm the guy that's doing the tile.
Okay.
This is marvelous. What I did, Elsa, is I actually started at the door, because generally speaking, the transition from the hallway into a room, you want to have a full tile. And what I'm doing in this scenario, because this project, every part of the tile work that I'm doing, the door's in a different location and it's on a different slope because it's a manufactured home. It's a bit of atrocious. So I'm actually using marble sill in between the door jambs to close those gaps and facilitate something that looks square. So I'm just starting at the door with a full tile and I'm working my way out the other end. And that's about as simple as it gets. The general rule is this, Elsa: always the most predominant part of the flooring project should look the cleanest and the most intentional. Okay? So if you're doing a transition from one room to the next, like a living room to a kitchen, full tiles right there. And then whatever's happening around the room can be whatever. It's behind furniture, it's under cabinets. And then whatever's going to draw people's attention, the longest line of sight. So if you have a hallway and you have many doors or entrances coming off the hallway, pick the most obvious line of sight, like the longest wall, and make sure that's always the full tile. Because when we're building houses, we don't make things as straight, as square as everyone would like. So pick something that's the most predominant, most obvious, and then you can work out for that.
Okay.
Right.
Because I was wondering why you didn't start with a cut tile, then a full tile, and then that way you would have a slightly bigger piece than that 2-inch piece against the wall.
Well, that 2-inch piece against the wall actually is going to be behind the door when it opens up. And so it isn't even going to come into play. And then after that, the room opens up even larger. Right? And so,
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for the call. All right, cheers.
All right.
And guys, just a quick note, when you're calling, make sure you've got your other devices off. There is a lag and we will get an echo effect. Okay? Let's see if we can get another phone call in here real quick. It's good to let the blood flow in the legs. My goodness. Rachel and Nick had the question, why do you not want to use larger tiles in situations? The older the house, the smaller the tile. That's the rule, okay? Especially in the 70s, before building code, 60s and 70s, there's a lot of experimentation, even with the thickness of framing. So you might only have 2x8 floor joists in your house, and you can't really support the weight and the deflection that happens and keep things from cracking. So I've seen a lot of times in the early 70s, late 60s, where they'd put in 3x6 floor tile, and it worked fine. And as soon as you go and put a 10x12 in or a 12x24, you're done. The tiles are just too big, and they always crack and break up because they're trying to, there's not enough grout space there for the floor to deflect with construction technology. So you really want to match the construction technology with the tile. The newer the home, the newer the product you can put in, because they're always making things stronger and more engineered, so it's flatter, so you can go bigger. All right. That's why the older you go back in time, the thinner and smaller even all the flooring products are. Even hardwood was only 1.5 inches when it first got started. Hello, cheers. It's Jeff here. What can I do to help you out?
Hey, Steph.
Yes, sir.
First of all, love your show, love your program. Keep doing what you're doing, man.
Thanks, buddy.
You are a blessing. Just want you to know that.
We're trying. We're trying to help. There's nothing wrong with being useful, is it?
Hey, I agree 100%.
All right, man. What can I do to help you?
So I've got LVT that's in my office.
Yep.
And, the LVT is on a slab. The concrete slab has like a thick kind of plastic that's underneath it. I think that was meant to be a vapor barrier.
Sure. Probably like a 2-in-1 cushion plus plastic to protect it. Yeah.
What I've got is underneath the chair in my office, the plank is curling. Now, from what I can see, the plank is not pushed too far against the underside where it's too long of a piece, and it's just being kind of bowed as a result of being pushed up against the wall or anything like that underneath the surround. But what I was told by the manufacturer of the LVT was that you need to use a chair mat. But I really don't want to use a chair mat underneath it.
Yeah.
But I'm noticing that it's curl lip. I mean, the pieces have been replaced. They've been switched around several times and cut to different lengths in order to kind of change the orientation of the tile pattern.
Yep.
But it still curls.
Okay. Let me ask a couple of questions here. How old is your vinyl that you bought?
Actually, it's probably no more than a year old.
Okay. And is it a WPC or an SPC?
Oh, it's a very good question. I do not know.
Where did you buy it from?
It was actually installed by another company. It was installed by, and I almost don't even want to say the actual company that did it. But it was a 50 floor.
Okay.
So it's part of the product they had.
All right. Well, there's a lot of products on the market that are composite cores, and they're not stone and resin. And so the core can be a little soft. And when you dig down into their warranty, you're going to find that furniture with caster wheels voids warranty, because a lot of those floorings don't have enough compression per square inch to handle that kind of weight. And so what it does is it breaks down in the middle and forces things to lift up. So it's having its own deflection issue in the plank.
Okay.
And it's just a wear and tear issue. And that's why they want you to use that mat, because it helps to distribute the load.
Gotcha.
Because a caster wheel is not a full wheel. Generally speaking, it's about 1.5 inches wide, but there's only one thin piece of plastic on each side that's actually in contact with the ground. So you have less than 1/2 square inch for each of those 3 or 4 wheels for all of your weight, which creates over 100 PSI. And a lot of those floors just can't take that kind of load, especially if you're moving around constantly. It creates a lot of stress. And so you're breaking down the product. And the best way to do that is get the mat. It'll distribute the load, because weight distributes at 45 degrees. So every time that caster hits something, it's actually creating a space that's, if it's only 1/4 inch thick, at least it's 2 to 3 times as much contact on the floor. And so it distributes the load over a much larger area and should reduce your problem.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I actually bought some of the silicone casters just to kind of get away from the hard plastic casters as well. So I was hoping that would be a little less.
Little bit less, but yeah, no, it's kind of like walking around on your tippy toes all the time. It's a lot harder than on your flat foot.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That's one of the weaknesses of some of that flooring, because it's just not strong enough to be able to handle all that work. All right.
The case.
All right, buddy. Well, thanks for the call.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. Cheers. There you go. Yeah, guys, that's just the way it is, eh? Every product that's out there solves one problem and creates a brand new one. So we're always learning. We're always learning about what are the weaknesses, what are the things that have to be fixed. And then over time, we develop better systems, right? So we try not to experiment too much anymore nowadays, but there's always room for that. All right. Well, Matt, if we don't have a call, let's take one more quick question from the chat, and then we can get moving. Kevin's got a question here. Jeff, your Amazon package is outside. 1 second. I got to see this. All right. Maybe it's on the stairs, or maybe he's commenting from last night. I did find it here this morning. But cheers, Kevin. I appreciate you watching out for me. We actually have a bunch of people in the neighborhood who've been walking by and talking to me and commenting on the project, and they're watching it on the channel. So they're probably right here now today. That's awesome. All right. Well, listen, if we're done with the questions on the phone, that's awesome. I'm going to go back on airplane mode. I'm going to jump back in there and get some more work done. But DIY Dude wants to know, how do you determine the grout spacing? Are you limited by the thickness of the leveling clips? Great question. Leveling clips come in a variety of different thicknesses. So you actually buy the thickness that you want. I'm using a 1/8 clip. I'm buying porcelain tile in a conditioned space. It's almost the same temperature year round, so I don't get a lot of expansion and contraction. Now, the bigger the stone, the higher the quality of stone that you want to get, okay? Because a ceramic that's big, when it gets cold versus hot, it has a lot of movement. So you need a lot more grout. Just think back in the 80s, we had 12 by 12 tile, and a 1/4 inch grout line was normal, right? Because it was all ceramic and it had huge expansion contraction issues. And then they went to porcelain, and then they went to what's called rectified porcelain. So we went from a 1/4 down to like a 3/16, and now we can do an 1/8 or even a 1/16 grout line, because we're using a quality product that doesn't expand and contract on engineered flooring in newer homes, or in an environment where we've got a Dieter membrane and we're minimizing deflection. So without deflection and without the expansion and contraction, you have less and less need for grout. And that's how we get to that math. So if you're not sure, go with a little bit more grout. If your house is older and you're not using a membrane, use a little thicker grout line. All right, don't be afraid. Grout line helps to solve the compression and the deflection issues. And it is your friend. It's not as sexy to have a thicker line, but it does work really well to save your bacon. All right, I'm going to jump back at work. I got a couple of cuts to get done. We'll come back and answer some more questions in a few minutes. Thanks, guys. All right, I got to get a marker, and I've got to get my square. Here we go. Now, my thin set mixed up 40 minutes ago. I got about another 20 minutes and half an hour on that before it starts to get too dry, which is an important aspect of this that we need to talk about. Mixed thin set actually has a half-life. Well, I don't like that. Let's try this one. Yeah, that'll have to work. It has a half-life, and so you've got to be careful that you're not trying to use dry thin set to install your tile. Bottom line, there's a lot of things that can affect the integrity of a tile job. One of them is the temperature of the stone. Is it in the room that you're going to be installing? Is it climatized? Is it too cold? Is it too humid? Okay, you can get condensation on stone if you're taking it out of a cold climate and putting it in a warm climate. And that water will create a little zone where the cement won't be able to bond to. And so it'll look fine until the next day when you start grouting, and then things just start popping around and you run into all kinds of trouble. So try to avoid that if you can. So here we go. We're going to go back to 3 3/16 here. We'll just transfer that information. Let me go to 3 1/4 here. Okay. And that is 8 1/4 long. And we're going to assume it's square. We're going to cut it, and then we're going to dry fit it. Because I don't know. Right? I just don't know. Now, this is a great sheet. Grab yourself a piece of old trim. This is a straight edge. I've got lots of straight edges that are made of metal. But whenever you can avoid using metal on your tile, take advantage of that opportunity. Accidents happen. You don't need to cause a chip. Just bumping it can chip the glaze from the front, right? And then you're out of luck. You're out of business. That whole tile becomes garbage. All right, let's hit this on the wet saw, and then we'll dry fit this tile, and then we'll get back to work here. Yeah. Oh, left my eyeballs inside. Here we go. Whew. There we go. Now, I know that that's not the fastest wet saw in the world, and it's more of a homeowner product than a professional product. All right, but there, look at this. We're just going to use the sponge, get rid of that dry erase marker line. Got to get that oscillating tool over here again. Get rid of this outside corner. Go. These things are worth their weight in gold, eh? There we are. Let's do the dry fit. Yeah, that's going to work just fine. Okay. So here we go again. Back to the system. Good to have a system. One tile at a time. Right? Fill the holes. And I am 2 trowels wide. Fill the holes. To do it really well, it's best to come from 2 different directions. All right. I know you can't see what's going on behind me here, but I've got about 3 inches after the tile before the wall. So I'm going to fill all the holes in that area first, okay? And then the way that I complete the rest of that work is I'll actually leave a little extra cement on the floor and pretend like I'm back buttering the floor there. There we go. And then I will actually trowel my tile. So I get the same thickness assembly and I just build it in reverse, okay? That way I don't have to have a whole lot of cement sitting on that part of the floor waiting for me to cut that stone. I can come back to it when I'm ready. And you'll see this process in action right now because I'm going to show you a little cheat. All right, now, in the world of directional troweling, There's lots of guys that are like all up in arms about the concept and the process and whatever. They'll get all up in your face if you don't do it properly, or you don't go left to right, or all these kind of silly concepts. You should have a system, but there is no rule when you're dealing with a square tile about which direction you have to do your tiling, left to right or whatever. What you do have to do is you have to create a travel line contrary to the way that you're pushing your stone. That's what you have to do. So here, for instance, the large part of this body of this tone, this section here, it's all directional traveled on the floor. But here, there's nothing. I just add a little bit of thin set, which is equal to the back butter. All right. And I'm going to do a hybrid of this now. So I'm going to back butter the main section. And then I'm going to take a good dollop here. There we go. Okay. So now I've got a hybrid. Okay. I've got back butter, and then I've got my actual trowel line. All right. And the reason I'm doing that is because it is a little awkward to get in here. I'm going to push right and then left a couple of times. Make sure I get all this weighted down. All right. Okay, here we go. Let's get some more yellow clips going on here. Now there is a tool you can use to pinch these together. I found that my fingers, generally speaking, create enough compression where I can get a nice level surface. And at the same time, not enough pressure that I don't end up breaking the clip. A lot of times when I'm squeezing that clip thing, I just end up breaking it. So that's no good to me. All right, now. Here we go. Just going to clean up. And I'm going to do the area underneath the office chair. Matt, I think what I want to do here, buddy, now is I've got the ability to read the questions on my computer in front of me. Why don't we just go ahead? Let's bring up a couple of questions that I can answer while I work. All right, that would be fantastic. Yeah, this is not going to be good for me, but okay. One of the benefits of large format tile is you can put a little bit of weight on it temporarily. And I'm just going to increase my screen size here so I can read the questions from far away because I'm getting a little blind. All right. What's the purpose of the membrane? There we go. Well, the purpose of the membrane is two things. It acts as a crack isolation membrane. Okay, so when you have a subfloor and then another layer of subfloor or plywood, okay, subfloor and plywood are built differently and they have different properties and they expand and contract at different rates. So generally speaking, tile work does just fine under normal conditions. But we have to build things to withstand extreme temperature variation because storms happen, power goes out, especially in the north, you're going to get extreme cold. And so what we do is we've developed technology where if you put plywood over OSB, you make it thick enough to protect against deflection, okay? But in extreme weather situations, they expand and contract differently. And so the tile, which is the third part of that sandwich, also expands and contracts and delaminates, right? The thin set can't hold on to the plywood and the tile when they're both expanding and contracting in different directions. And it delaminates and it all pops up. So the membrane was actually designed for commercial environments as well, because on slab on grade, in extreme heat, you get that same effect going on with air conditioning. So when your weather kicks out and you lose your air conditioning, things change so fast, things delaminate. So what this is it's two parts. It's part structure, the squares that you see, and underneath there's a fleece, and the fleece bonds to the lower section. So whether it's your OSB or your concrete, and that allows the two parts to move independent of each other, maintain structural integrity, and not delaminate, okay? And that's the strength and the science behind this, which is absolutely amazing. And it is a game changer for anybody in the tile business, because now we can do massive tile jobs with confidence. And what it also does, because of these little squares, it increases the structural capacity of the membrane so that it can actually withstand more pounds per square inch and withstand deflection without the added buildup. Because this is pretty thin, it's only 1/4 inch. Instead of 5/8 of wood, you only have 1/4 inch of membrane. You can actually have tile plus membrane on OSB the same thickness and height as finished hardwood flooring. And that's it in a nutshell. So it's two things. One, it gets rid of the need for transitions. Two, it gets rid of the problems of delamination in extreme climates. And three, a different variation of this allows you to put a heating cable in it and bury the cable in the mat and just cover it like any other application, which is pretty awesome. All right, here we go. Let me get a measurement for underneath here. All right, 24 exactly. Well, I actually haven't even measured this tile yet. I'm wondering if it's 24 exactly, probably 23 7/8, right? Most tile nowadays is made just a little smaller to account for a grout line. Okay, this one's 23 5/8. It's close enough. I can't use my offcut, or maybe I can. Give me one. No, I'll be going in the wrong direction. And just because it's going to be underneath the table, it doesn't mean that you're never going to see it. So I don't want it going in the wrong direction. So we're going to measure up a new piece of stone. Okay, and that is my direction. This is the edge that I want to line up. And we got the thickness is good. Now we're just going to get this dimension here, 14 1/4. We'll go to 14 1/8. And the reason I'm doing that is because whenever you're doing stone up against cabinets, you're always going to add a piece of 1/4 round. We're going to paint the same green on a piece of trim that's actually 3/4 by 3/4, and then we'll cap over top of all the edges. So you can give yourself a little bit more mercy. We're going to go to 14 1/8. Let me confirm that. Yes, 14 1/8. I'm going to run that through the saw. I'll be right back. Here we are. 14 1/8, and I left my door wide open. That's just an invitation for people to pop in, isn't it? 14 1/8. 14 1/8. Let me go close that door. And let's just see. Maybe I do have an Amazon package sitting here. There we go. There we go. Cheers to my neighbors who saw that. Of course, it's for my wife. It wouldn't be a normal day if there wasn't an Amazon package for my wife. We get almost everything from that place nowadays. Dog food, our coffee. Love a store that doesn't run out of stock on important items. Okay. Here we go. There we go. That's my straight edge. Ready to go. All right. Important when you're working like this, have a garbage can handy. Throw things out as you go. One more thing, guys. Listen to this little lesson for the table saw. If you want to buy a, what is it, $150, $125, it's for rigid. You get it at Home Depot. You can hear when you're pushing it too hard. Listen to this. I'll get the motor to work too hard for you. You know the sound when you're pushing too hard. Here's normal. And here's pushing too hard. Okay? If you're pushing too hard, it starts to bottom out, and you're going to burn your motor up. So be patient. let the blade do the work, and everything will turn out well. Now, you'll see that the majority of this tile, maybe not on that camera, but on this camera, you can see the majority of this tile is actually dry. It's only wet just along the edge. And that's perfect. The wheel in that particular camera, in that particular tool, goes down below the table into a well of water, comes up, and then sprays everything out over top. And it's just designed to keep the blade wet so that it cuts efficiently. All right. Oh, I did it again. I had $1 for every time I've done that. All right. Can't stand that. I'm going to clean my tool. I hate working dirty. Man, oh man. It's my biggest pet peeve. All right, there we go. Let's get some thin set into here. All right, Matt, we got any questions here while I'm throwing a tile on that nobody can see? There we go. Let's see what we got here. Is it easy to remove Ditra with tile on it years later if you want to remodel again? Here's the thing. It is only plastic. So if you were to take a look at the option, Ditra versus plywood, let me put it this way. If you're using 2 layers of plywood to get your 1 1/4 inch, you're going to put a screw every 6 inches in the body, every 2 inches on the perimeter. So a 4x8 sheet of plywood, that's 5/8 thick, is going to have somewhere around 200 screws in it, covered in thin set and tile. So the only way to remove that is to smash the tile out, clean off the thin set, back off the screws. You're only going to find half of them. And then you have to take pry bars to get underneath and peel it all apart and screw it together. So it's a lot of work. In this situation, what you have to do is you have to smash the tile and then just cut the membrane in a few places and then lift that out, okay? It's no different than lifting out plywood, except there's no screws. You're just sitting in a thin layer of thin set. So I think removal of this is actually a little bit easier. The other thing is if you smash out the tile and your membrane is there, you can leave the membrane intact and tile over top of it again the second time. So you can actually save yourself a whole step. All right. Woo. Let's put this down here. All righty. Okay. Okay. Well, because this is a small space and I'm getting low on thin set, I'm going to just finish off the other half of that hole, cut a second tile, and then once I've cut that next tile and installed it, we'll take another break and get over to some live calls, okay? All right, here we go. First tile. Some back butter on this bad boy. Sorry, that's a bit of a nasty sound, isn't it? All right, which is my cut edge. Beautiful. Okay. Okay. Now, here's a little tip. For anybody who's tiny, or if you're working in a hard to reach place, sometimes you lay a stone and you can't get your weight directly over top of it. If you can't get your weight over top of it, you can use a rubber mallet like this, okay, to help beat it into submission. And it's about repetitive strikes. It's a dead blow hammer, basically. It's just solid rubber, so it doesn't cause any surface break on the tile. So you can just reach into the back and you can vibrate the tile into position, all right? Not beating the tar out of it, just like this. Okay, and then that'll give you the power to help make that positive contact, all right? Here we go. I need another piece of stone. Where's my measuring tape? Always have 2 on you. Or at least I do. I always need 2. I'm going to go 12 1/4 on this one. Okay. Process. Clean my edge. Add my clips. Okay. There we go. And always write down your measurement because I always forget. 12 1/4. 12 1/4. 12 1/4. Nope, the off cut was only 9 1/2. Oh well. 1/4. This way. That's my edge. Draw my straight edge on here right away before I forget. Okay. Yeah. 12 1/4. Boom. All right. Okay. Here we go. Turn the power on. Okay. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Okay. All right. I'll slide that in. Okay. And myself a clip. I'm going to need a bag. You know, these leveling clips are reusable, but only the yellow part, just the wedge. Because when we're done, we actually break the top off, which leaves the feet stuck underneath. All right. So make sure you have lots of those on hand. Here we go. Well, that's not bad. We got a fair amount of work done here. Not bad for the first hour. How long have we been at this? Oh, maybe a little more than an hour, right? My goodness. All right, now I still have thin set. Notice, it's been a while. I'm a little over an hour in. I probably shouldn't go any further with this product, but instead of throwing it out, this is one of the advantages. You can take the leftovers and just fill all your squares. Okay. Now, let's do the perimeter because you don't want to be kneeling in wet cement all day. It's hard on the knee pads. One of the other things you guys can know is that you can do this Ditra in the same day. You can apply the Ditra and then fill the squares and add the tile all at the same time. So, or you can apply the Ditra and then fill in all the squares, then do the tiling the next day. Nothing wrong with that, okay? I'm just finding this is getting a little too thin, so I'm going to stop and we're going to clean that out. We'll prep another batch, but let's just go outside. I'm going to stand up for a few minutes. Before I do, make sure you buy one of these if you're going to install your Ditra. This is a Schluter Ditra trowel. Get that nice and close. If it doesn't say Schluter Dieter on it, it's the wrong size. Nobody in the world sells a trowel with this groove on it. Okay, so if you want to meet their specs, make sure you use their tools. Okay, now I got to throw this stuff out. Here we go. I just clean this pail out right now before it goes to junk. I cannot mix the next pail of thin set into old thin set. Can't stress that enough. All right, you're not allowed. Now, obviously, when you're on a job site, you're not going to throw the pail out because there's 0.01% thin set in it. But try to get your pail clean, something like that, okay? So that you can reuse it. Wow. Wash your tools as you go. Okay. This starts to build up, starts to dry out, and then your gaps get smaller, and then you get chunks breaking off your trowels as you work. Okay. All that does is cause you grief. Well, that is a lot of sun. My goodness. All right. Oh, well, let's do this. Let's go back to the questions. Throw them up there for me, guys. I'll do a couple of questions out of the chat, and then we'll open up the phone line again, okay? Angel wants to know, Jeff, I'm a new homeowner. And painting the interior of the house, changing the flooring from carpet to LVP, redoing the kitchen and bathroom and floor. Which one should I do first? Okay. If you're doing the entire house in LVP, then you got two options. You can redo the kitchen and redo the bathroom and then put all your flooring in all at the same time if you use the right product. Got to stress, SPC core doesn't expand and contract, has a great compression strength, so it can go underneath all your cabinets. But if you're going to go with one flooring, in a lot of cases, it's easier to do the flooring last on the project and then add cord around, just like I'm going to do here with the tile. It's hard to work on top of a finished floor without damaging it, okay? So there's a product on the market called Ram Board. It's a really thick cardboard. If you want to do all the flooring first, you can, and then you can protect your flooring by putting floor protection down. It's perfectly legit. It helps to get a really sexy finished look. That way all your cabinets are on top of the flooring. You don't have to add the extra trim. It looks amazing, okay? But there's no rule with LVP. You can go first or second or last. It doesn't matter, all right? It really comes down to how professional do you want the look to be? And are you capable of doing the entire floor at one time, or are you tackling everything as one project at a time and intentionally going to be using transition strips? That's the other question. So yeah, that's how flexible the product is. Anyway, there's no rule. Anybody who tells you there's a rule, they're listening to building science from 10 years ago when the product first came out and they hadn't tested it in the field yet. But now we know better, okay? And it makes perfectly good sense. We've been putting vinyl under cabinets for 100 years. Just because you make it thicker and stronger doesn't mean all of a sudden we should be afraid to put it under a cabinet. All right, let's get to the next question here, Matt. Oh my goodness. Tasso, he's one of our members. Hey guys, if you want to be a member, just hit the join button. Makes your life a lot easier. You got access to me all the time. And then you never have to do something, learn the hard way, and then ask me how to do it right after the fact. Save your money, do it right the first time. Ask me a question first. He says, Jeff, would you put the Dieter straight onto a cement floor? Definitely, but definitely put it in thin set. Now, cement is porous. So generally speaking, in that scenario, you want to use the modified thin set. You can get the cheap stuff for that, okay? It doesn't have to be amazing. You can get like a $12 bag of Roberts thin set from a commercial dealer, or you can get the Schluter all set and never have to think twice. But a regular modified thin set has an adhesive in it. It's basically like a latex property, and that glues things together And as soon as it's dry, it's bonded. Okay, so it works great on concrete. And yes, definitely amazing on concrete because it does more than provide structure and get the right thickness. So if you gluing hardwood on concrete and you go Ditra and tile, you get the same height. But what that also does is it's a crack isolation membrane, and it's 10 times better than anything you roll on. Okay, so your concrete will crack one day, and if it happens underneath your tile won't crack. And so you guarantee the integrity of your installation long term that way. All right. If your tile cracks and you use Ditra, you've got a structural issue. Contact a structural engineer, do some under the slab inspections, and find out what's going on because you got a major problem. This stuff works. All right. One more, and we'll go to the phone. Laura Varga, another member. Yeah, great. Good to see you guys here. I mean, this is awesome. I'm glad. Jeff, what if the concrete floor was painted? You want to get rid of the paint. Okay. You don't want to bond to paint because paint on concrete, in a lot of cases, if there's moisture transfer, it'll delaminate. The paint will delaminate from the concrete. And now you've lost your integrity of that product. So get a cup grinder or a chemical, whatever, and get rid of it. Guys, while you're in the chat here, let me know if you like this format where we can work and talk at the same time, deal with questions as they come up. We're really doing this like an experiment. We're going to be doing this. It should be about a 4-hour video today. Want to make sure that you got access to information. Let me know if you like this kind of stuff. Tell me in the comments section. Hit the like button right now. Subscribe if you haven't. Join the membership. Share this video with your friends. All these kind of communication are signals to us that you want to see more of this. And then we'll do the necessary steps to get better and better and better at this. If you were part of the last Work With Me Live, I would like to know, do you think this is a better job than the one we did last time? I think we're doing a little better. It'd be nice maybe being a little bit more control of the sun. I did not give that enough respect when I was thinking about this, but that's okay. Live and learn. We'll get better every day. Okay, the phone is now available. If you got a call, let me know. Everybody's loving it. Super cool. Cheers. Great to hear. Appreciate the feedback, Matt, because I'm standing here, I can't see the chat. We're going to have to get me signed in for StreamYard as a member on this particular computer. Getting a call from Michigan. All right, hello, it's Jeff here. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, what's your name, bud? And we're gone. Well, you know what? My cell phone scenario in the United States is this. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We're calling back. Hello again. We lost you.
Hello again. Hopefully this time I can stay connected.
That's amazing. Yeah, well, these things happen down here in the United States. I'm from Canada, and we have a far superior LTE network, just to be honest. What can I do to help you out? Oh, he's going to do this all day. All right, third time's the charm, and that's it.
I sure hope so.
Quick, ask your question before we lose you.
Quick, so my
All right. If you're from Michigan, you're not allowed to call me. Let's get someone else on the phone who can make a connection. The secret, guys, is at the top corner here. It tells you if you have any strength in your cell phone. If you don't have a good signal, go where you have a signal and then give me a call, all right? That is just frustrating. But let's go with some more questions here if we can. Not everybody wants to get on the phone. I understand, and you got to be brave or whatever, but more than happy to answer your questions, guys. What is the difference between mastic and thin set? What do you put under cement board? Okay, well, here's the deal. And just to make sure, I am going to answer that question without being interrupted. Put the airplane mode back on. Mastic and thin set are two different products. One is designed for structural integrity, so floors for sure. And it's also designed for tile in wet areas, okay? Mastic is only to be used in dry areas other than floors, okay? It's basically glorified Elmer's glue, okay? It's a different property than that, but think of it this way. If you're doing a backsplash tile on an inside of the house, there's no reason you can't use glue. That's mastic, all right? And it's basically, all it has to do is carry the weight of itself, and it dries super quick, and it allows you to install the tile and then grout the same day, within a couple of hours of each other. And a good quality mastic will carry more weight than a cheap one. But if you're doing a backsplash, you're basically tiling on top of a counter, and so you don't need a lot of strength, except for where the stove is. And you can always screw a board in the wall, use mastic. It's simple, it's clean, it cleans up easy, and it's not messy. You don't need extra tools to mix your thin set. So it is convenient. It's just very limited in its application. That's all. So there's a thin set for everywhere else, and there's different kinds for different situations. But mastic is basically for backsplash tile only. All right. Let's try taking phone calls again. If you've got one, hit me. Otherwise, Matt, let's throw up a question on the screen. I'm getting a good stretch in the old back here. This is awesome. Puritan 74 is throwing us a little bit of love. We're from England, it looks like. Well, cheers to over the pond. Thank you for all your excellent, helpful videos. My pleasure. Thank you for watching. All right. Hey, Massachusetts. Hey, Jeff here. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, Ryan from Southern New Hampshire.
Ryan, it sounds like you got a good cell signal. Glad to take your call.
I'm doing a tile install with hex, and I've noticed in my toilet nook, some of the gaps have started to wander, gotten a little bit larger. I was wondering if you had any tips to recover, I guess.
Okay, tips to recover if you're using a hexagon tile and it's getting out of control.
A little bit of it, yeah. We knew the corner was bad, but the grout lines are just definitely getting out of control.
Okay. Here's the thing. How level was the floor before you started?
We knew in this area we had a little bit of a problem.
Okay. And are you using leveling tile clips?
We are going to start doing that today, actually, after watching this video.
So if you're having trouble with your spacing, generally speaking, you've got a dip. And whenever you've got a dip, if you were to measure from point A to point B, it's a greater distance traveled, right? And so your tile isn't stretching to fill the gap. So what you have to do is you have to fill that up with thin set to maintain a level surface, all right? So what I like to do if you're using a hexagon tile, it's like what, probably 8 or 10 inches wide or something?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so here's your issue because you've got floor joists that are 16. So you can actually have 2 tiles, one going down and then one coming back up. So you've traveled a greater distance. And then you get all that conflict when you're doing your tile. So what you do is take your level, go around your floor, and everywhere where you have a dip, mark it, draw the dip out on the floor, okay? And then what you can do is you can actually whip up a little bit of thin set, and you can actually trowel those little spaces in first to like a pre-fill the night before you tile. Okay? It's really hard to do a good tile job on the fly with inconsistent flooring. The only thing is if you use clips, grab yourself one of those little number 1 pencils. You know those little brown ones that we had way back when in school before they let us use pens?
Sure do.
If you use one of those, that pencil is perfect for cleaning out all the grout lines because it won't chip any of your glaze. Okay? And because it goes from 0 to hero, you can actually pick whatever grout line you want, set that in there and do all the scraping and wiping to clean all your grout, because if you go with more thin set than you need and then you use the leveling clips to flatten everything level, you're going to get a lot of squeeze out. And then that'll help you to clean that as you go. So there's 2 options. You can level in advance, or you can make a hell of a mess and do it at one shot. Just be wary if you're going to use leveling clips and you're going to use a squeeze out system. There'll be so much thin set around your leveling clip, it's not going to break out clean. And you're going to have little plastic things sticking up. You're going to have to cut out after the fact. All right. So it may seem like you're saving time and energy, but working flat is always better than trying to make it flat.
Yes.
Okay.
We realized that before.
Yeah. Well,
Question about the leveling. What size level would you say you need in order to check flatness? Obviously, you can.
Well, most of the problem you'll have is deflection in your subfloor from joist to joist. So something as simple as a 24-inch.
Okay.
And if you have a floor that kind of falls away into a corner, you can go diagonal across the room and check to see if that happens. So if you have dips in your subfloor and a diagonal drop off, stop what you're doing, pour some floor leveler, and get your floors level before you start tiling again, or it'll drive you crazy.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, my friend. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate the call. Cheers. Yeah, it's maddening, eh? Like there's so many little things. The good old days. My goodness, when they had pencils. All right, feel free to take another call, guys. Otherwise, we'll just jump to questions. John wants to know, Jeff, I missed a ridge clip, by the way. I guess that's possible. Yes, I did. but I'm going to get back to that side of the tile before it becomes an issue. Thanks for letting me know. You know, it's amazing. Something as simple as putting down a tile, you get a procedure, you get a rhythm, and then you're busy chatting to people or whatever else, and then you blow it right out of the water, and you make mistakes, and that happens. All right. Chris, another member wants to know, would a kitchen backsplash be the easiest first tile project, or a bathroom behind the sink? I want to slowly work up the shower walls. Yeah, backsplash is a great way to start. Wow. I think the easiest tile job that you can do actually is a small floor, like a bathroom floor. Do a tile that's like really easy to work with. A porcelain tile is 12 by 24. Wow. Having lots of problems with Minnesota today. Porcelain tile that's 12 by 24 is actually really easy to start with. Do like a half offset, okay, with leveling clips. Easiest tile job is always a flat tile job, whether it's a flat wall or a flat floor, okay? We're trying again. Hello, Jeff here.
Hi, Jeff. Trying again from a different phone number. Hopefully this time I stay connected.
Sounds fantastic. You sound really good and clear here. Let's do this.
Okay, good. All right, so I have a finished basement.
Yes, sir.
I put vinyl plank flooring in it.
Yep.
In the basement, there is a fireplace. It's set at a 45-degree angle to the rest of the room.
Okay.
It's a brick hearth, I believe is the term for it.
Sure.
It sits directly on the concrete, and the edges are like a curved radius.
Okay.
When I put the flooring down, I cut everything, within a quarter inch or so of where it sits. But what I don't know is how to trim it out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a real pain, eh?
Yes, it is.
You want a miracle solution here? Oddly enough, there was not too many options. Wow. Let me see. How much of a gap do you have?
Roughly a quarter inch.
Roughly a quarter inch. Okay, and it varies. I take it, eh?
Yep.
Okay.
Based on how good I was with the jigsaw.
Yeah. What you want to try to do is have a nice clean line, not necessarily up against the brick, but definitely on the flooring, because that'll be the most obvious. Right? There is a product on the market. It is a rubber quarter round. All right. And you can actually paint it the same color. It takes latex paint. You can paint it the same color as your luxury vinyl plank. And then you can install it over top of your plank. The only problem is that you're all covered in masonry there. So you're going to have to use a product like a PL, I don't know, maybe 600. Maybe I'd try to stay away from PL Premium. It's just hard to clean up if you make a mess. But you can use an adhesive, and you can set that quarter round around it after you've painted it, set it over that gap, take some old paint cans and push them in front so that the adhesive bonds to your masonry, not the flooring. All right. And then, because the flooring is more likely to have an issue with bonding than the masonry. That's all I'm trying to say. So if you use a PL 200 on that product, that's the one I was looking for, then you can bond that to your fireplace. Just be careful of squeeze out. And it'll look a lot better than I think any other option you got, because if you try to use any kind of like thin set or mortar or something like that, it's all going to just break up and crack on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the lesser of two evils. The only other option that you have is actually you can take a grinder wheel and you can cut off a quarter inch of your brick before you do your flooring, all the way back, like an inch, inch and a half. And then you can start your floor kind of scribing that curve and sliding it underneath there and sliding it out and making sure that's perfect, and then build off the room from there. But that's a lot of work.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, I get it. But that's probably the best option I can think of at this point. All right. Sorry, I didn't have anything any sexier, but it'll work.
No, rubber quarter round actually sounds good, flexible enough to bend around it.
Yeah, so you might not find it at Home Depot or anything. You might have to check on Amazon. I haven't checked to see if it's available, or just Google for carpentry supply stores in your area. There's always at least one.
Okay.
And these are like commercial stores off the beaten track, and they'll have a whole box of that stuff, and hopefully they'll just sell it to you by the foot.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
All right, bud. Thanks for the effort to get through. All right, cheers. All right, that's it for the phone calls. We got to get back to work. You know what? at this point, I'm starting to wonder if I'm going to have time to get this project finished. All right. Now, we got to mix some thin set. So we're all going to get a chance to learn some stuff here today. That's good. We got our pail. We got our water. There we are. Now, I like to start off with about 3 inches of water. And we have 2 phases of thin set. One is getting it started, and then you have to let it set up. And to get it started, you want to put in like about 1/4 of a bag. Okay, this is a little bit bridged in here. You take your drill. We're going to have a mixing blade that looks like that. Okay, I throw that in the sunshine for you. Yeah, you can see that. You can buy that at the local store. Everything I'm using today is available at your local store, by the way. And then we mix slowly. Now, this drill does not have variable speed. It kind of goes from 0 to hero in a hurry. So be careful. But you want to make sure that your product isn't clumping up in a corner down there, okay? So if you mix in a little bit of that first, it makes it a little bit easier to control. Oh, I am having all kinds of problem with that. There we go. All right. Straight into the garbage chute. We'll get another bag over here because that won't be enough. There we go. And this time I'm going to cut it differently. I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah, still way too thin. Now you can read the directions on the back. Or you can just kind of go by feel. Yeah, the drill's working way too hard. I need another little bit of spit of water in here. There, that'll be it. Here we go. Now, okay. Now, the secret to making thin set is this. When you read the instructions, it'll all tell you the same thing. It'll say, first it'll say you mix it, now you let it wait 10 minutes. It's setting up. Everything going on there is a chemical reaction. So you wait 10 minutes. And then you have a product that you can install. Well, the secret is, how do you know, because the chemical reaction takes place, how do you know when you've mixed it right so that you get the right mix later? Because you can mix it when it looks really great and then it comes out dry and is useless. If it's too dry, it won't bond. Or you can mix it real thin thinking, well, it'll set up. And then you're hanging around for an hour waiting for it to set up. And then you have like a 10 or 20 minute working time because you're really advanced in the chemical reaction. So the rule is this. You know when you're doing that 1/2 inch traveling, the cement stands up, okay? When you're done mixing, it shouldn't stand up. You should be able to put your finger through it and then the sides kind of collapse on each other. And then 10 minutes later, you can do the finger drag and then it should be just standing straight up on peak. That's how you know you got it right. When you do a drag and it slowly collapses, and then 10 minutes later, you do the drag, it stands up, okay? That makes good cement. Remember, after 10 minutes, you can't add any more water to this. You've destroyed the chemical reaction. You're going to get a bad bond, and it's going to delaminate. So don't do it. If you ever see a contractor doing that, tell him throw that out and do it again right the next time. Because what you're going to save $8 to destroy 100 square feet of a job? That's just nuts, right? That's not the time to save money, guys. Here we go. Okay. I got my clips. I've got tile. I got my trowel. I cleaned it. There it is. Okay. Got a clean trowel. I got that. And before I can get started, I got to cut that little tile in the corner because I don't want to have to come back tomorrow and do something that I forgot. 3.5 by 15. Okay. Do this again in the corner. Sorry, you can't see what I'm doing right now. But you get the idea. Cutting out another corner. All right, I need a 3.5 by 15. I'll take this and this and this. And up against that wall. That's not going to work. That's a cut tile. And that's going to work. Okay. 3.5 by 15. When you're measuring, always think of where are the two finished edges that are going to be making contact with the rest of the room. So you always want to have your inside corner concept figured out. There's my 15. I said 3.5, I think. Really should be writing this stuff down. Confirm it. Good. There we go. Because we're working off of our little thin blue line, which has almost disappeared, we're close enough. We'll be fine. Wow, that is some really bright sunshine. Okay, 3.5 by 15. All right. Here we go. Gotta get my eyes on. Don't know where they are. And there we go. Okay. Okay. Those there so don't lose them this time. Now the other side, I've already got the squares in there, and I've already added a little extra thin set. So in this case, I'm just trying to add my trowel line. And I know I'm a little premature here. Hasn't really set up for 10 minutes yet, but this is in the corner. It's never going to see any structural load. So I don't really worry about it too much when it's out of the traffic area. All right, now let's get back. I think it was John that mentioned I missed the clips, and he's right. See that your working time on this thin set is actually pretty darn decent. I got to hand it to the Schluter people here because it could have been a lot worse. Like when you solve that many problems, you generally create other problems. Every action has an opposite and equal reaction. Well, it's the same way of solving problems, right? Here we go. This is going to be good for filling in squares, regardless. We use the back side of the trowel for that. Going in two different directions. Okay. Now, let's see if I got enough product. Nope. I'm about 1 inch shy here. Okay. Obviously, I have more tile in here than I actually need for this project. When I was setting up, I'm like, well, I'm going to be on camera. What happens if I get a box of broken stone? And then I got to walk all the way around the entire house to the other door because I can't walk over top of a wet floor to get there, can I? And it's in a different room, so dilemma. There we go. Now, when you're doing this, start shy of where you're going to comb. You always end up with too much product. And when you squeeze down, it goes in two directions. And you don't want to push the stuff towards the tile. You want to set it with a relatively clean trowel. Hardly any thin set there. Okay? It's better to have just a little bit of product on your trowel and then set it where you want it. Squeeze it out to the amount that you want it. You can come back and do the rest of the dimensional troweling in a minute. But setting up that edge where it's nice and clean and consistent, that is money in the bank, guys. Every minute you're not trying to clean something after it's dried, that's money that you can use doing something else with your time. All right, so same thing. I'm going to finish up troweling towards me so I can push left to right or right to left as it is. In this case, all right. Now, one thing you'll notice the entire project, I got my ass pointed to the door. Okay, this is how you work. This is how you do production tiling. Check your corners before you put your cement on it. Make sure you don't have a chip. You don't want to be prepping something that you're not going to install. All right. You know, when I was younger, I got a job. My first job doing real tile work was actually new home construction. And I hated it because there was no integrity in the system. There were no rules, no licenses. Anybody could take a contract. Everybody was subbed out from a major flooring supplier. And you didn't even have to prove that you know what you're doing. Just go do the job. And if you messed it up, they didn't pay you. No big deal, right? You took all the risk. Well, that's fine. As far as business practice is concerned, that's fine. But all those homeowners that had a disastrous tile job as a result of that business practice, I'm sure they would have been much happier if there was some kind of a qualification program. I know down here in the States, there's a certificate. You can actually get licensed to install tile and prove that you're competent, which is interesting because, like, end of the day, knowing how to do something and having integrity to do it right are two different things. But at least you have the advantage of knowing how to do it. Now, if you guys are out there and you're thinking, hey, I'd love to get in the trade, this looks like a great job, consider this. It's bad on the back, it's bad on the knees. You can do it for a season. And if you get good at it, you can even make a few bucks. But do yourself a favor. Most of the companies that are out there that have specialty products like Schluter actually have courses that you can take. I think Schluter has 3 courses now for the product line. And it's only available for business owners, people in the industry, as they recognize the need for professionals to understand how to use their product. They don't recognize the importance for homeowners to know how to use the products, however, at this point. They have yet to offer a course to homeowners, which I think is probably pretty bad oversight. So one of the things I'm doing this year when I get down to KBIS, the trade show for this business of ours, is I'm going to talk to the Schluter folks. I'm going to see if they're interested in going in on doing a training program with me for you guys. Love to hit a few different areas up. Teach you guys how to use their product line, because I really do love it. And it'd be really good if you're going to be doing shower systems that you took the course and you understood the science behind everything. So you know more than just what YouTube videos look like. You get some practical application. You can get on the tools. You can teach you how to use the tool effectively. If you're interested in something like that, let me know in the comments section. Can't see them right now, but I'll definitely read them later. And if you like the idea of doing something like that, then maybe that can open up a whole doorway for us to do a whole series of training from companies that have got great products out there that I love. Because I think that could be a real valuable asset. All right. Yeah. Here we go. Now we start to run into an area where we're running out of space. Now I got a 30-pound bucket of cement. That thin set will carry that weight no problem without sinking. It's okay to leave it there. You just don't want to step on your feet when across the tile. Now, it's really warm outside, so I'm going to just try to limit the exposure to the heat as much as possible so that this stuff doesn't change size on me. All right. This piece here. Whew. All right. Oh, I guess I should maybe say, we just finished the bathroom series from the trailer here. During the summer, I went home for a few weeks. And I took a bit of a vacation, spent some time with the family. But while I was up there, I went and I built another shed. For everybody who's wondering, they changed the building code in Ontario, so now you can have a 10 by 16 shed. And so I took the opportunity to do a couple of new things. Some new products, new technology that I really love. And I built it to code, and we put a traditional peak roof with a 412, I guess we'll call it a 412, it was close, roof on it. So, it has a pitch on each side. And we just took advantage of that situation. Being down here in Florida, I've learned that if you're going to build a shed down here, a lot of the homeowners associations want you to build it in the same style as the home itself. So it has to look the same. So I thought, you know what? Here's a great opportunity to make a video, show people how to do a different roof line, different building science, a couple of different tips and tricks. So I built the shed, and that series actually starts here on Saturday. We wanted to get that out as soon as we could. And then after that's done, that series is done, we have all the kitchen videos from here. Okay, it's exciting. And then after that, we've got the bathroom series, the second bathroom. And for the fans of the channel, we got issues in the back of that bathroom wall that we got to address. So I'm looking forward to filming that real soon. And if you got any other suggestions, what you'd like to see filmed on a trailer, mobile home, manufactured home, whatever you want to call it, let me know in the comment section over the next couple of months, because I am down here filming, and I've got opportunity to attack a couple of fan favorite ideas. You know what I mean? All right. Yeah. Love to work clean, but at the same time, the smaller the space gets, the harder it is to stay clean. Here we go. Stick the leg out, get it a counterbalance, and slide. Got it. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Okay. Oof. Yeah, one thing. These clips, they're a wedge. So when you put the wedge in, the direction that you're sliding the wedge creates pressure on the tile, and it drags the tile in that direction. So one of the greatest ways that you can install this is always use the wedge towards the finished tile that you're attaching to, and it'll help you to close the gap in the grout line and keep things nice and square. There we go. It also makes a great tool for cleaning out the grout lines, because it's long and thin, and it's made of plastic, so it won't scratch any of the glaze. Okay. All right. Now, let's see. There's my sponge. It's getting just a little bit too covered in goop for my own good here. Okay, that looks like it's probably a 3.5-inch space. Again, I'm working off camera. Sorry for that. Alrighty. That one's garbage. That one might be able to use it there. No, it's garbage. All right, 3.5. Let's take that off of here. I got one more good edge. 3.5. Anyway, I was telling a story about working for new home construction. I got distracted myself. I did it for about 3 weeks. And we were doing one home in 3 days. And this is 2,000 square foot home. So it's got a kitchen, front entrance, back entrance, laundry room, mud room, main floor powder room, ensuite bath, usually with a Roman tub, and a shower, accent tiles, floor and wall. And then the other bathroom be a tile surround and then a floor. That was a lot of tile to lay in 2 days. And then on day 3, you do the grout work. And then they came to us and they said, hey, we want you guys to do 2 houses a week. I said, you can do it yourself. That was insane. Safety squints activate. Right? Here we go. I'm just back buttering this because I left the thin set on the floor over here. Again, my little cheat, maintain the spacing. Perfect. Okay, now the next tile. I know it's going to be 3.5. That's very consistent. So I'm going to cut the 3.5. I've also got to work around an electrical plug. I don't know if you guys can see this. Yeah, no. Okay. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to actually run around the house. I'm going to reposition my camera so that you guys can see what it is that I'm up to over here. That'll make it a lot more interesting. There's a few items here that we got to address. One of them is the transition. And I want to make sure that you guys got a good shot of that. Let me just go fix that. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Okay. Now, there we go. If we lose the feed, that's okay. We'll reconnect it in just a second. There we go. I think we're good. Beautiful. All right. Okay. My back is starting to get sore. You know, this is the kind of work you can only do for so many years in your life. And then you got to start having to manage people who are doing this kind of work. There's a lot of respect for guys that work until they're in their 60s in these trades. All right. Now, I needed a piece of 3.5. You can see here now, this is the electro box. It's actually built out of the wall. So I got a 3.5-inch piece of tile and I got to cut around that. So the first thing I got to do is cut the 3.5 and then get the right length on it and then scribe it to fit 22. We're going to go 3.5 by 22 and then we'll scribe it. Okay, here we go. Use that side. Turn and a half from here. 22. Okay. Oop, that didn't grab, did it? There we go. All right. There we go. Okay. Okay. I was going to show you. Here's a 4-inch angle grinder. Yeah, you'll be able to see this just fine. Here's another tool. No guard, no need. This is a continuous rim blade made just for porcelain. Don't buy the cheaper version thinking you're saving money. That's for ceramic tile. That's like buying a butter knife, okay, to cut through a side of beef. It's not going to work, all right? So this works really good when you plug it in. Oh my God. How many times on this channel have I gone to use a tool and I forgot to plug the darn thing in, eh? Man, oh man. If you have an answer to that, throw it up on this question there on the comment section. I'd love to hear what you think. I think it's in over 100. You'll notice the first thing I'm doing is I'm drawing a straight line, okay, just to get through the glaze. And then I'll worry about burning through to the bottom of it to break it off. The last little bit here, I'm just running it on an angle. Get rid of any bump. There we go. Perfect every time. Now I'm going to need my little marker. And we're going to trace out this electrical piece here. That's my grout line. That's my floor here. My floor here. And I'm going to go to that deep. I'll take that measurement. I'll put my fingers on this line. I'll set my pen. I'll run down here. I'll just draw a line. There we go. And we'll use the grinder to finish that off. Now you'll notice here, you can't cut all the way through because it's a round blade on a square material. So you got to go to the back side, all right? Finish extending the first two cuts, and then you can connect the dots. There we go. We'll dry fit. All right, perfect. We'll get the oscillating tool in here for that last piece of trim. There we go. Whew. All righty. Well, 2 hours in, eh? Good stuff. I'm kicking butt. All right. We have about 1 hour before the traditional live show even starts. I think what I'm going to do is just going to count these out. What have I got left? Measuring tape here. Yeah, 23 and a half. That is incredible. Let's do this. I've got this thing going on with this particular project where in all the doorways I'm putting in a marble sill. And that is because it gives me the flexibility down the road to switch out the door installation, door sizes. It helps to erase a lot of the anomalies with how unsquare the hallway is to the rest of the rooms. If I tile all the way up to this door transition and I go to change this door in the future and it's a different size or style and has its own jamb, not just an exterior trim, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. So I think what I'm going to do is just come up to the jamb, rip out this board and put in a thin marble sill here because that can be replaced and that can be changed out with affecting the floor itself. The other option I have is I can remove this little trim, add a piece of plywood, put a little more Ditra, and bring the tile right up to the edge. But my tile is 23 and a half and it finishes right here, 1 inch shy of the door. And do I want to put a 1 inch piece of tile or a 1 inch or a 2 inch sill? I'd rather cut the tile back so it leaves me with a 2.5 inch marble sill than have a 1 inch sliver, which I know is going to crack over time. It's too much stress with the doors closing and opening. So let's just do that. That means I need 1, 2, 3 more pieces of stone. That's what's in this box right here. We'll lay that out. This will be our last stone. These two are extra. Fantastic. Let's get them out of the way. All right. Yeah, there's only 3 pieces of tile in each of these boxes, but they weigh like 65 pounds or something. It's ridiculous. All right. Okay, now I know every one of these last few stones is going to have to be cut. It's not the end of the world. And it's going to be cut right here. Okay. That's my measurement times 3. Whew. Okay. We're going to go 21 3/4. Over here. Yep. Perfect. All right. Well, we have a few minutes on that thin set. What do you say? I'll install that sliver first. What do I do with it? Around here somewhere. There it is. Let's do this first. I don't have enough thin set here to finish this room. Maybe I do. Actually, that could be close. I feel like I got another good 45 minutes of working time on this product here. So, since I got lots of working time, what do you say we go like this? A little heavy. Make sure we fill in the squares again. Okay. I was just going to say, I forgot to mention, Look at me. I'm so focused on what I'm doing, I forget to promote myself. Guys, I'm going to do another one of these Work With Me lives. It's going to be in 2 weeks. It's going to be in the bedroom over here. We're actually going to install drywall on the outside wall. We're going to install it and tape it. And then we're going to prime it all in the same few short hours. So we're going to show you a bunch of tips and tricks to get that done. And we can hang out again and we can take questions. Should be a lot easier because it's one great big room. We'll have control of the light. You can probably answer a lot more questions in that scenario, but I can definitely get an opportunity to show you how to use the tools. Okay, there we go. Pressure, 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 pressure. All right. Margin trowel, clean it. Lots of clips. This is not a job that you stay clean. And if you do, congratulations. I'd be impressed. My goodness. Just saying, don't plan to go straight from the job site to dinner. Here we go. Let's get that one tile cut and installed, and then I'm going to take another break. Oh. All righty. Where's my... Oh, yeah, there we go. I'm sticking these markers in my pants. Can't find them. 21 3/4. There we go. Well, sure learned a hard lesson here. There's just too much daylight out here for you to see a whole lot. I apologize. And I stole my power for the other saw. Amazing. See, remember how many times I asked if I left the power off? Well, that's already 2 today. Actually, 3. That is the 3rd time today. Wow, 700 videos later. Probably 2,000 times I've done it. Hey. You heard that one bottom out on me a little bit. That wasn't from me pushing too hard. That was from me getting a bit of a curve and the blade started to be constricted. That's what happens, you know. Start to get tired and you start to try to rush to get finished. I don't know if you're all like me. My favorite time to work is first thing in the morning. You know, you're full of energy. No distractions. I can get more work done between 7 and 12 than I can between 12 and 7. All right, here we go. 21 3/4. Bam. Perfect. And the baseboard will take care of the rest. All right. Well, that's it. Time to take a little bit of a break. All right. Time to start thinking about some new questions. Woo. Just joining us late. Today we are taking questions and we're answering live phone calls. So we're going to go back to the phone in just a minute here, guys. All right. Matt will put the phone number up on the screen just momentarily. Matt is my son. He's helping me out from Ottawa today. He's running the feed. Give him some props. I think he's been doing a great job. Couldn't have done this without his help. That's for darn sure. Ah. And here's a quick question for you. If you're watching this after the fact on the replay, and you like the style and you'd love to be able to sit in and learn a trade while we're working, let me know what time, what day, and what time zone you're in that you would find you had the most time to be able to put down to doing something like this. Because we're having that conversation back at the office. Do we do this in the evening? Do we do this on a Saturday? Just want to get a little bit of feedback, guys. Okay, so let us know. Like right now, it looks to me like we're almost 300 people watching this live in the middle of the afternoon on a Tuesday. That just blows my mind, but that's cool. Right? Like, I think the last time we did this, that video is doing a couple thousand views a day. People seem to be enjoying watching it after the fact. But to be part of the live show is going to have benefits. And as the channel grows, and as we get past 3 million, and then we start looking towards 5 million subscribers and doing new and more wonderful things, we want to be able to integrate the live show to be a lot more interactive. And so I'd just love to know when you might think us being live would serve you the best. I guess that's the easiest question. All right, I'm going to get up, stretch the old legs, and let's see what this looks like out here. Oh, we can find a place where I can maybe be in the sunlight. Almost, eh? How's that? That's close enough. I can work with that. All right. Yeah. Matt, I can see questions on the screen if you want to start throwing them up there. If you got a question, help yourself. Anything. Like we've been talking flooring now for a while. If you got a flooring question, great. But if you got a question about anything going on in your life, I don't do relationship advice all that much, except get married, stay married. It's easier to stay together than to split up. There's my advice. Deal with that. I'm going to take you off airplane mode. Mac, you can throw up some questions for me. That'd be awesome. While I have a drink here. And there's always a possibility at the same time I'm asking Matt to do something, he had to run off to go to the bathroom or something. It's a long show. I mean, are there thoughts towards acoustic issues with tile in an office rather than carpet? Or is it not that applicable in this environment? Well, this is kind of like a small home office. Really, where I'm working right now, it's not designed to have kids running around. This is kind of a 55 plus community. So whoever is living here, the office has got a door, it's got walls, it's got wood paneling. So there's lots of soundproof acoustic issues already. And if you're concerned about having a little bit of tile in a room full of wood, don't be. I mean, you can always throw a mat on the floor if you're trying to get that perfect acoustic. It's probably easier to get yourself a couple of absorption foam sound panels to put on the back wall. You get 10 times the soundproofing than any floor. All right, cheers. It's a good question. But if you're in an office in your house and you're worried about that, putting in a hard floor is nice, right? But if you have a surface for the floor to bounce off of, then you got to deal with one of them. A drywall roof with a hard floor isn't that bad inside the room. But if your walls are also flat and echoey, then you're in trouble. Bare Bones, hey, cheers. You remember, that's awesome. How to fix grout being too low. One of the biggest problems. First of all, what's too low, right? Everybody has their own opinion on this. If you put in the grout and it's exactly flush with the tile, that's an impossible standard to live up to, okay? Because we always mix grout with water, and then the water has to leave the grout as it dries, which causes shrinkage. So the standard is always going to be the grout is going to be lower than the tile. Having said that, you could make your grout too wet and you get too much shrinkage, right? So then the solution to this problem is if you find that the way you mix your grout leaves you with too much shrinkage, switch off your grout. Go from a regular grout to the polymer modified grout. It doesn't require as much water and it doesn't shrink as much when it dries. And that is the solution. You've got to work a little bit faster, but if you're experienced, it's not a big deal. And if you're going with a 1/8 grout line, you're probably better to use a polymer modified grout than a traditional unsanded wall grout, because unsanded grout, 1/8 starts to get a little bit too tight. It's just right on the edge of whether it's going to be compatible or not. And you can run into tiles that are closer than that if you don't use a clip system. So be careful. as all things, as it changes, the products change. We went from 1/4 inch grout line, we went with sanded grout is fine. And then we went to a smaller grout line off the walls. Oh, we got to go unsanded now because can't have sand in there. And now we've got glass tile. You don't want sand in there either. And then the less things shrink and the bigger the tiles get, the more the design is trying to make it look like monolithic piece of stone in the house. So you get a grout line of 1/16. You got to up your game if you go 1/16 and use polymer modified. All right, let's take another question. Greg wants to know, is Jeff aware of wedge gate? Purely for jokes, no picking on the work at all. Wedge gate, no, I'm not aware of it. I would love to be aware of it. I hate being the only guy in the room who doesn't know what's going on. Wedge gate, next to the wall. Oh, yeah, I didn't use wedges up against the outside wall. Whoop-de-doo, I know, listen, do what I say, not what I do, okay? I've been doing this a lot of years. I can tile the floor blindfolded in my sleep without any clips. But for the purpose of showing you guys how to do it, I'm using the damn wedges, all right? Oh, my God. Great work, Dad. Woo, this must be Christina out of town. She's in LA right now. If I was tiling a room and found out I missed a yellow wedge after 3 rows, how would I fix it without ruining any of the tiles I just laid? 1 second. Oh, okay. Is it the first one way at the very top? That's awesome. Yeah, there is a way that you can walk on freshly laid tile. Okay. And the way that you do that is you get a 2x6 and you lay it over the floor. Okay. And you walk on it with your feet about 3 feet apart, and you take just a couple of big steps and you try to displace your load of your weight over a large area so that you can not affect the way the tile's sitting in the cement. I don't recommend it. Chances are you'll cause more problems than you're going to fix. Wedge gate, my goodness. All right, can you show us how this is done? All right, just for fun, I'll show you how to do it. This is crazy. Yeah, okay, you want to see the wedge? All right. Wow. I got the camera in the wrong spot for this. There was once a time, I'll tell you the story over here real quick. There was once a time when I did have a problem and I had to get back and get to it. Matt, we can switch to the outside camera again. And what I did is I took my paint pole. It's an extension pole, goes to 8 feet. And I stretched it out. I put it up against the corner of a wall. And I put it under my armpit. And that was when I was young, thin, and strong. And I slowly lowered myself over that pole until I was at about a 12 degree, just planking in the room. And then I reached over and fixed it. And then I used both hands and I worked my way back off the stick. But generally, I've crawled over furniture. I've laid out like Spider-Man on bathroom fixtures. Done it all. But at this point, I got to think about personal injury before I worry about a floor. Listen, if you have a problem, you can always smash a tile out the next day before everything is cured. Okay? It's really simple to fix the next day if you make a mistake. Break out a single tile, clean out the extra thin set, reset it all using the same program. You can do that. I'd rather see you do that. If you're not happy with your work, fix it. And the next day is the best time because nothing's really cured yet. It's easy to replace. All right. Enough of the wedge gate. My God, I'm missing out in the comment section. Really put myself out there to be just, on the chopping block. All right. We're going to take this question from Mark, and I'm going to open up the phone again. So if you got a question, you want to have a conversation, sometimes if you got a question, I got to know where you live, what's your climate. We can go back and forth on a couple of different topics. So you can really dig in there to solve it for you. Mark wants to know, sitting wall on new concrete patio in Pennsylvania, is Loctite enough, or do you suggest wood in the middle attached to the patio? Ooh. Okay, so you're wondering basically, is an adhesive good enough versus a mechanical fastener in a 4-season climate? And the answer is no. Okay, when in doubt, throw in at least a Tapcon or two here and there. For best performance, pre-drill holes in your concrete, use some hydraulic cement, get a bolt into that hydraulic cement, put on a plate, drill out the plate, washers, nuts, okay, all that kind of stuff. Overkill on structural work like that is never going to cause you an issue. We had a windstorm last summer in Ottawa, just to give you an idea. And this happens every once in a while. And it was a perfect storm, the way that hot and cold fronts were hitting. And there was such a huge downward thrust. It actually took houses and shifted it off the foundation. Just wind. It was just about 10 seconds of wind. And it was that strong. And it took out about 20,000 trees. Those are the moments that you want to make sure that your building science is going to hold up to. Okay? The everyday, you wake up in the morning, the wind's not blowing, the rain's not falling, the sky is not too hot. Who gives a rip, right? You can live in a pup tent. But when you're dealing with building stuff, guys, you got to think 50-year life cycle, extreme weather conditions. What are the possibilities from my extreme weather, and how do I protect myself and my investment from where I live and what I'm going to deal with? That's the way you approach this. Building science is not the science of 90% of the time. It's the 10% of the time and the 1% of the time. That's what we build for, to make sure that we don't have disastrous problems when other problems compile, all right? So you don't get water in your basement if your basement's waterproofed. But you don't generally get water in your basement, you know, for years and years and years, even without waterproofing. But it's that one bloody day, right? That's why we waterproof. So that's the answer to the question. Don't ever choose an adhesive over a structural fastener. Choose physics over chemistry every chance you get a chance to do that, okay? Always take physics over chemistry in building science. It'll treat you well. Next question, and I'm going to open up the phone. Did I open up the phone yet? I got Matt running the banner. I told you I'm taking calls. I don't even know if I took it off. Sorry, I'm still in airplane mode. My bad. And I shouldn't be hitting the microphone. Another thing I've learned. All right, I'm in business now. I just missed a recent call. Ah, I feel terrible. There we go. Sorry, guys. Hey, Jeff's here, taking your calls live. Who am I talking to?
Hey, Jeff, this is John.
Hi, John. 904 in Florida.
Florida, not too far from you.
That's cool. What can I do to help you out, bud?
So I'm working on a remodel project in a bathroom where there's just a small sliver of tile next to the tub.
Okay.
That whoever installed with an adhesive and not grout, and it didn't lay out flat. So when they were looking at it to grout over, wasn't going to work well.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to pull out those little grout strips, get rid of the adhesive. What's kind of my best process for that? 'Cause we're talking less than like a half inch.
Okay, is it adhesive from the tile to the tub or shower surround, or is it from tile to tile?
No, the adhesive is holding the tile where grout would or
where thin set
would normally.
Okay, now we're talking the right language. Okay, I got you. So somebody glued in a tile. All right, and did they finish it off all right? Did it look good? Like siliconed it to the tub, or?
Well, they didn't finish that grout on that section of it because it wasn't flush. They didn't get it flush with the rest of the tile.
So you have a tile installed in thin set that's not flush, and they never grouted the work.
It's not thin set. It's some adhesive.
Some adhesive. Okay.
It was a clear silicone, I think.
Fair enough. Okay, and then so you want to be able to lift that tile out if it's possible.
Correct. Get the tile out. I'm gonna have to recut some tiles for that.
Definitely.
But without damaging the tub.
Yep. Is there a silicone bead between the tile and the tub?
No. Nothing was done to finish that section.
Okay.
out.
All right. So here's the thing. In a lot of cases, what happens is that sounds like a repair job. Did that happen while you were living in the house?
No, I'm coming in as a handyman, fixing somebody else's problem.
Gotcha. So here's what happened. I'll bet you $1,000, John. Somebody had a bathroom job done, and what happened is the homeowner called the contractor up and complained that it was squeaking when they walked in the floor. And probably what they did is they either put the tile right up to the tub, Or if you're in a 2-story home, it's the second layer of the plywood was touching the tub. Okay. Are you in a 2-story or on slab on grade?
This is the wall tile that we're talking
This
about.
is wall tile.
So-
Oh, okay, not floor.
Not floor.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. Well, if somebody did a repair and they used silicone to put the tile in, depending on the substrate of the wall, that's probably a decent install and probably would have held. But if they didn't grout it, oh, that's just, yeah, something bad happened. Just cut it all out. What you're going to do is you're going to find out if there was any waterproofing technology involved in that at all. Right?
Right.
And you're probably
What
going
do
to
I
find
cut
out
with?
not.
That's kind of like we're talking about such a small area. What am I going to cut it out with?
What was it, 1.5 inches?
No, it's less than half an inch.
Less than half an inch. Oh my God. Yeah. You know what? You could use a 1/2 inch chisel and you're going to blow a chisel
Okay.
on it.
Okay.
But it's the only way
Okay,
you're going to have
yeah.
any control over your environment. Right? Because
Okay.
remember, behind that tile is the tub flange, the integrated tile flange. Whether it's a
Right,
tub or
yeah.
a shower floor, it's going to have some deflection. So line up vertical, take a spot, give it a smack with your hammer. If it doesn't break, you're probably sitting over a stud. Move 6 inches left or right and find somewhere where you can get in behind. You'll find a spot in between studs where it'll have deflection, and a good solid shot with that hammer will break that tile guaranteed. And then once you're in behind one, the rest of it's easy.
Okay.
Okay. And then before you put the new tile in, because you're dealing with that integrated tile flange and you don't have any waterproofing, get some Loctite sealant bond. Okay. And tape it all off and put it in with that same 1/2 inch chisel, okay, or whatever it is, and put a bead of sealant bond all around that rim so that you've got a waterproofing membrane where that integrated tile flange is before you put the tile on. And the new tile can go on with either a thin set over that compound, or you can use a silicone over that compound. The problem is with silicone is it takes like 4 or 5 days to dry, and then you got to go back to grout. So I'd rather go with like a quick set, thin set. So if you do a waterproofing membrane with the Loctite first, then you can go back with a quick set, thin set, and then you can go grout right away, the same day.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
All right, brother. Good luck, man.
All right.
Scratch my head while there's a 1/2 inch gap in tile at the bottom of a shower, but hey. You know, that's a good call. I'm going to address that on the live show for a second. All right, that was a long call, but I wanted to help him dial in. Listen, if you got a small piece of tile on a shower, I mean, someone wasn't thinking through. Whenever you're doing a tile project on a vertical wall surface, you got a ceiling, you know the height. Lay out your tile. Lay out 2 or 3 feet on a table somewhere. Put your grout spacers in, and then measure off and figure out what's my excess going to be. Am I going to have a 1/2 inch gap, or am I going to be cutting the last tile? In a lot of cases, you can fix your problem by using a different size grout line. And if you can't, all right, if you can't, then go back and tell your client, say, listen, you need to buy a bigger tile or a smaller tile that fits the space. Buying a tile that fits the space is really the biggest solution to most of these problems. Anyway, I'm not going to ramble on all day. I did a vertical wall tile stacked backsplash tile video. I went shopping for the tile to fit the space. I didn't even have to cut anything at the bottom or anything at the top. Just around the plugs. Okay. Did the whole job in like an hour and a half. That's how you tile. Think about the space and buy tile that fits it. It makes life so much simpler. All right. Phone line's open, guys. If you've got a question, hit me up. Matt, throw some on the screen here because I'm out of the chat. That's one problem here. I can see the chat in the computer in the other room, but right now it's 8 feet away and I'm too blind for that. So, Matt, if you're still with me, thanks, dude. Shannon's got a question. What thin set are you using? Missed the beginning. All right. Great question. I'm using Schluter. This is called All Set. Okay. They make their own product now. It's been on the market for a few years. All right. Here, can you see that? Schluter All Set. Right there. This is what we call a modified thin set. So it has acrylic in it, which acts like an adhesive in situations where you're bonding to cement or plywood. But They've compounded the technology so it also satisfies the requirement for non-modified situations, like when you're on plastic membranes or waterproofing systems or really large tile, where the thin set will bond and mature and cure even when it's wet. Because most modified thin sets will not cure properly to stone if it stays wet. This one does. So it operates in every single situation you're ever going to tile in. Period. Just wanted to say that. All right, unless you're tiling a ceiling with a really heavy tile, then you want to get something that has, believe it or not, there's actually tile out there that has a rating on it for how many pounds per square foot it'll hold against the ceiling. All right, that's a thing. And so if you're installing tile on the ceiling, contact a professional tile store where they sell like 40 kinds of thin set, not a Home Depot where they have 3 or 4, and get a professional product for that situation. All right, or you're going to have poles and 2x4s all over the place trying to hold it all together while it dries, and it'll drive you nuts. The good stuff you can put on the tile and just throw it on the ceiling and it'll stick there. All right, okay, let's get to the next question, or a phone call if you want. I'm here to talk. Zach wants to know, what do you recommend for finishing walls of a garage that has cinder blocks and built in the 80s? All right, Zach, that's a great question, but I don't know where you live. Now, if you got cinder block and you're built in the 80s, the interior really doesn't matter. It's about, are you going to heat the space? Okay. If you're not going to heat the space, then it doesn't really matter. You can go with drywall. You can go with pegboard. You can go with plywood. You can go with anything you want if you're not going to heat the space, as long as you can keep it dry. Okay. Now, if you live in a humid climate, you don't want to put drywall in there unless you got air conditioning. So where you live is just as important as the age of the house when you're asking questions, guys. Zach, if you're around, you want to give me a call and have a quick chat. We can follow up with a few things because it's not quite that simple. But generally speaking, if you got a masonry wall, you're in a garage, you're usually far enough south that deflecting the heat and having a cooler inside is part of the reason why they built it like that. Up in the north, we just use wood for everything and stuff it full of insulation. So I would imagine you're in the south. And in that scenario, all you got to do, put on some Tapcon, like the Panhead Phillips, okay, with some strapping, and then you can go and install some drywall. You may not even need to insulate it unless you're going to run air conditioning. If you're going to run air conditioning, then you're creating such a different thermal environment. You're going to want to protect yourself against air, condensation in your drywall. So insulating that wall might be important. All right, next, let's get another question up here, bud. Brian, another member. Are long, thin fractures in self-leveler a problem before laying tile on top? Okay, self-leveler does not translate cracks into tile. Generally, it's because we put too much water in it or we poured it too thick. Okay, so the best way to protect yourself from self-leveler issues is to roll on a crack isolation membrane before you tile, just to make sure. All right, that way the tile and the crack are independent of each other and you don't risk any issues. All right, that's a great question though. Loving it. Self-leveler questions. All right, well, let me just double check, make sure my phone's working. Like, if you don't want to call me, that's fine. I get it. No, it works. But, he's a guy to talk to. I generally don't give people trouble at all. All right. Kaz, little green man. My goodness, that's a whole lot of mouthful. Should a 6 mil vapor barrier be used over a concrete slab above grade under LVP with an attached pad? Thanks in advance. Okay, great question. If you have a concrete slab above grade, we use the phrase on grade. If you're above grade, if you're in like a condominium, okay, then we have different rules. Now, if you're a single family home and you've got an underpad on your LVP, generally speaking, you don't need to have a plastic barrier between your concrete. Now, if your house is older than 1974, you will want to have a plastic vapor barrier. Building code made it a prerequisite to put plastic underneath your concrete pour. It becomes a moisture barrier block, okay? So before that, they didn't have it, so you have to have the plastic on top of the concrete for your block. If you're in an apartment or a condo and you're on concrete above grade, we have a new rule, and it's acoustic rule. So you have to contact your condominium board, find out in writing what the rule is, because a lot of LVP that has an attached pad doesn't meet that sound transmission control rating. And so you might have to put a 2-in-1 or a sound barrier, okay, like a mat that you roll out, okay. So it might have to be in cement. It might just be a loose lay underneath your floor. So make sure you check with your condo board. They'll have rules everywhere. The code is going to be a little bit different, and make sure you live up to that code, because if your neighbor starts complaining of the noises too much and you did a renovation, you didn't meet the code, you're going to have to lift your floor up to put in the proper soundproofing, because rules is rules, baby. And when you go and live in a place like that, you got to follow them. All right. Cheers. All righty. Can you 1/4 inch thick self-level cement microcrete over existing basement concrete and clear coating over top to use as a finished floor? This microcrete stuff, my God. Not a big fan. Listen, first of all, basement floors. 99% of basement floors are not structural concrete pours. They do not even have any lath in them, let alone rebar. They're not monolithic. They're simply poured on the gravel, okay, to separate you from the dirt. That's it. That's why they crack. The cracks don't mean anything. We build in the way we build things, the water never even gets to the level of the floor. It's always moved away from the building much lower. If you want to try to finish a basement floor, you're going to get cracking in your finished floor using any of the products that we just described. That's not the look you're going for. If by chance you were part of the design process and you had them pour a monolithic slab, which means there's rebar and reinforcements and that concrete is not going to crack, and then you want to try to do some sort of, skim coat of a modern concrete patch, and you go ahead and do what you want. You should be fine. But don't expect a new surface to overpower Mother Nature's ability to force that concrete to crack if it doesn't have structural reinforcement. All right? You will be disappointed, and you're going to waste a lot of time and money to be disappointed, and I don't want to see that happen. All right. How about another question, and then I can get back to finishing off my floor before that thin set gets too dry. Bare Bones, we've got a member again. I'm looking to finish my basement with 12 by 24 tile flooring and LVP. Let's leave that question up on the screen, Matt. I'll take the call, and then we'll get back to it. All right, my friend, I'm going to need you to mute the device on the other end of this line, please.
Yep.
There we go. Hello, it's Jeff. What can I do to help you out?
Jeff, it's Raina. How are you?
Raina, thanks for the call, darling. For everybody else, Raina is like our member. She's been around for 100 years on our channel.
Gotten very little done, but little by little, right? Like team slop and getting it done.
That's
I have a question about the flooring.
Yeah.
I had a couple of issues with my water heater over the years,
Yep.
and so I got a second one put in, and it's in a little utility room in the garage.
Okay.
My house is partially raised. This might be slab under, but anyway, I need to put in some flooring, and I think, well, this is a good place to practice my, all the flooring techniques, because it's trash. But I have this water heater that's on this pedestal.
Yes.
And, it's hooked up, you put it through the ceiling or through the roof and all that. How do I just have to cut around? Do I have to have somebody come in and hold that while I slide that under? How do I go about it?
I would do yourself a favor, and I would say, hey, this is a mechanical space. I'm going to make it clean and tidy, but there's no requirement to be lifting things like that out of your way to put flooring underneath. Just go up to the pedestal, all right? And you can even buy silicone in different colors. And if you want to make sure you got a nice, clean, tidy finish when you're done, just tape off around the floor and put a bead of silicone that's colored similar to the floor, and then just clean it all up and be done. And don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to have a dirt trap in that gap, right?
Right. That's my feeling was like, I would do it that way, but I'm not a contractor, and I just like, well, maybe I'm going to be creating a bigger problem. But
No, Raina, the minute you go into a mechanical room, you've got to get ultra practical, because it's going to be almost impossible to try to move everything either up, out, or out of the room while you're doing the job. And
Right.
it's not necessary,
Right.
right? Do
Cool.
yourself a
I
favor
got
and
it.
don't
Yeah,
take
it's
so
like
much.
something
Don't put so much pressure on yourself, darling.
Well, you do such fabulous work, and I just, so appreciative of you. I just tell everybody about you. Go check, see what Jeff says.
There you go,
Check and see what Jeff says on it. All right, thanks a lot.
Miranda.
Appreciate
Thanks
your
for the
help.
call. This has been a real
I'll see you
treat.
around.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
bye bye. Yeah, that is awesome. Ranico, that's so fun. You know what? Love my job, right? Like I love my job. Listen, Matt, let's get back to that question that I had to bail on. Bare bones. I'm looking to finish my basement 12 by 24 tile flooring and LVP. So 2 sections, 2013, New England, Wisconsin, Northeast Wisconsin. Want to heat both. Any suggestion on transitions? Okay. Yeah. Here's what I would do if I was you. I would get the Ditra heat system and go electric. And under the tile area, I would use the regular Ditra heat. Okay. And under the vinyl area, I would use the Ditra heat XL. And by the time you're done adding tile and a little bit of vinyl, you're going to find they're almost exactly the same height. The transition is going to be nominal, to the point where you can actually do the vinyl first and then the tile. Let me just pull this out for you real quick. Can I get this in here? Is this visible? Let's go to there. Okay. I'm going to draw this nice and big. So this is like a 10x version of what you're going to see. Here's your concrete. This is the transition area. Okay. This will be the tile. This is the vinyl. So you would put down a regular Ditra heat mat plus a tile, which would come to so high. All right. But what you do is you put down the XL heat mat with your vinyl. And then you put this regular Ditra mat down. And if you find when you set your tile on that you're going to be a little higher, okay, let me just draw this even bigger. Okay, so we got floor, Ditra XL, and vinyl. And we got floor, regular Ditra, and let's say tile ends up way up here, and there's a height difference. You can buy a transition that goes like this, up, and then partial return. It would go right here, onto the vinyl. And so the transition's integrated into the tile and sits on the vinyl. So what I would do is I would do the vinyl first with the heating, and then I would do the other kind with the tile. And then when you get close, you can pick your transition because they have like 3 different heights for this to pick up on. And it's called a half return. Now, Schluter has their own name for it, but if you go to a tile supplier or you go through the Schluter catalog, you'll find what I'm saying. Okay, the product is literally like the front end of a snowmobile, and it's for transitioning to different height finish flooring. Okay, and that'll be the solution to your problem. Guys, whenever you're doing flooring projects, know the end from the beginning. So if you're going to have transition issues and you're going to be using tile, instead of using T-moldings and things that cover up gaps, you can have integrated solutions from a Schluter company. They've been making them since 1970, 65, something like that. All right. And all of these integrated solutions, you'll see them at Home Depot, and they'll have a shelf, right? And you'll have 2 or 3 different colors, a couple different thicknesses, some metal, some plastic, all the boring stuff. It's like really all the boring stuff. But in the catalog, they've got hundreds of options in multiple colors of metal. Okay, so really it's worth taking time to go to a tile store that is a Schluter dealer and looking through all the samples, because there's solutions out there to problems you haven't even found yet, and they're amazing. Okay, now here's what we're doing. What time is it here? I can't even see. It's almost 5 o'clock. It's almost time for a regular live stream. I'm going to go and double check my thin set, make sure it still has the consistency that I'm looking for. I'm going to measure and cut the last couple of tiles in, and then we're going to come back out here and we're going to finish off this conversation with some more questions and live calls. Cheers. Thanks for joining us today. This has been a lot of fun. All righty. Now, back to work. Okay, let's see if we can maybe get that camera fixed a little bit more into what we're dealing with. Let's have a look here. Yeah, you know what? This is good. I'm liking it. It's still holding up and it's still soft and pliable. Now, experience will tell you a lot more about this kind of a product than inexperience, but that's okay. When in doubt, throw it out. If you're not sure if your thin set is still good, toss it, all right? Do yourself a favor. Now, there's our green. Here's my tile. Instead of measuring, we're going to do the old-fashioned way. And we are going to visually line this up exactly where I want it, knowing, okay, yeah, there we go. And there's my spot. Here we are. Okay. All right. This is a great trick, guys. Really gentle here so we don't break any tile on the glaze. We're going to line up our gap up at the top here, making contact with the jambs. And we're going to mark this. All right. And we're going to take this. I'm going to eyeball this bad boy. There we go. That's actually pretty good. Yeah. Okay. We're going to go like this. Set up that gap. Rest it off there. There we go. Now, this is a bit of a cheat, but if you finish on the wall and then you fill the gap of the jamb with a piece of marble sill, you get two things. You get a really easy cut. You avoid slivers, in this situation especially, but you also get a bit of a retro throwback look, okay? And your marble sill sits just a little tiny bit higher than the tile. And that provides you a certain level of waterproofing. And if you're going to do your bathrooms with a marble sill, you can also take the extra time to use the Kerdi tape on the Schluter membrane at the joints and waterproof your floor. All you do is you do that membrane on the joints, and you take it 2 inches on the floor to 2 inches up the wall, which will be covered by baseboard anyway, and you can actually create a waterproof environment. Now, I'm going to have a bathroom video coming up soon talking about how to waterproof. There's actually 7 steps. There's a few other locations you got to do it, but as far as flooring is concerned, that's the majority of it, and that's how you can do this, okay? So there's that, and now I'm going to cut these 2 stones, and we're going to tile our way out of here. Oh, woo! Been a good day. Yes, sir. All right, here we go. We have any water left in here? Yeah, we're getting a little low. That's what I thought. Okay. No problem. You know, if you wanted to know, I can make a list of all the tools you need for doing a tile job like this right now. It's pretty simple. The wet saw is optional. The grinder is optional. There are some cuts you just can't do with one or the other, so it's nice to have both. Or you can have a wet saw and then you can have a hole saw for cutting tile. That's really effective as well for a lot of these situations around plumbing and stuff. But a grinder is great for those little areas. So you need all of that. You're going to need measuring tapes. You're going to need dry erase markers. You're going to need mixing blades and drills and pails. Get the right thin set. Get the all set. Make your life simple. Measuring tapes, clips, wedges. You need to have a trowel, the right trowel, 1/2 by 1/2 for a large tile. If you get smaller, you can go 1/4 by 3/8. Get a margin trowel so that you can clean up your edges. You need a pail with a sponge, always. You need a chalk line to mark yourself off. And generally speaking, you know, you need electrical tape for every time you cut the tip of your finger off while you're getting prepped up. I know, it happens. But it's just the skin. It grows back. All right. Ah. Woo! We put too much water in. Now it's spraying like a madman. All right, let me line this up and get those safety squints operating. There we go. Alrighty. One. All right. Okay, there we go. That's number 2. Finally, the sun has calmed down enough. Just starting to go over the top of the buildings. I can't believe it. It's like, what, 5 o'clock? 5 o'clock. Yeah, here we go. That's all right, Matt. Thanks. It's 5 o'clock and we're live. And if you're just joining us now, because we're usually live at 5 o'clock on a Tuesday, here's the deal. We've been live since 2 o'clock. And you've missed out on 3 hours of awesome content, if I do say so myself. I'm just finishing off a tile job in my office. You're welcome to join us. We've got 2 cameras, 2 computers. We're set up for taking calls, and we're taking questions. So jump right in. I'm going to just take the next few minutes and run through the installation process for floor tile with large format tile for you. Because if you're just joining us, you may not want to have to go watch the last 3 hours. Or maybe you want to just save this into your account and watch it later. It's been a great day. So let's get at it, shall we? All righty then. So here we are. I'm fixed. I have a dilemma. Do I want to do the left side or the right side first? What is easier? Well, I'm right-handed, so having this tile finished and then working over here is going to be a real pain in the butt. So I'm going to stick some wedges under this side, and then we are going to do the other tile last. Here we go. So this is 24 by 24 tile, which in actual dimension is 23.5 by 23.5. We're using the Lash tile leveling system. This is available for sale at your local Home Depot. Okay, you can grab it, and they come with these spacers that are different dimensions. I'm using the 1/8. You can get thicker if you want. We're using Schluter All Set Thin Set because it doesn't matter what you're tiling. You can use this one product and never think twice about whether or not it's the right stuff. So I'm going to recommend this until the day I die, just so that homeowners never are disappointed by using the wrong product. Process is simple. We're going over Schluter Dicha, which is a membrane that's designed to replace the need for a second layer of subflooring in wooden structures. It is also designed to eliminate the possibility of cracks going through your concrete if you're in a slab foundation. So no matter what your tiling situation is, this is a membrane that'll save your bacon. I think it's one of the greatest products on earth because it solves so many problems. And it adds an incredible amount of deflection strength if you're on wood, which is huge because deflection is one of the biggest problems in tiling today. If you don't have a lot of experience with tiling, I'm going to guarantee you, trying to figure it out on yourself, you're going to go through about 4,000 square feet of product before you even have a sweet clue about what it is that you're screwing up and why people aren't paying the bill, why you're getting dragged to court, and why. This is a very complex science, guys. And in 1960, give or take, they invented thin set because everybody was trying to become part of the new building code, the national building code that was going to come out in 1974. We said, hey, let's update our tiling techniques. And they did. They went to thin set instead of the traditional dry pack, basically, concept. And what they did is they forced an entire generation of tilers to change the way that they worked, to using a product that was unproven, untested, and failed miserably for years while they practiced and learned and practiced and learned. God help us all for having to go through that hellish time. But it is what it is. Today we've come full circle. Now we know what the heck we're doing. We can actually tile a project and have some confidence that's going to last more than just 3 weeks. Ay. New home construction in the 80s and 90s, eh? What a crapshoot with your tile work. So many things can go wrong with you than thin set. Which is why, if you're going to have tile work done in your home, you better get involved in the contract and stipulate the products that you want being used. Stipulate you want somebody trained on the products doing it. Whoops, I almost put that in upside down. Because you can make so many little mistakes that have such huge implications. In this video, we went through all the different kinds of mistakes. You want to make sure you climatize your product. Condensation is a huge issue. The bottom of your stone gets wet while you're installing. You're not installing, you're just setting it into sheer destruction, guaranteed. We have got all kinds of product all over the world. People are installing wrong. We've got solutions like leveling clips that make people feel like they're professionals because they know how to stick a clip in. This does not make you a pro, people. Understanding the product and the science behind what you're doing makes you a pro. All right, now, and there's a whole lot of clips out there, and we could all argue all day long about what clip is the best. The point is, any clip that gets you where your tile edges is less than one edge from one to the next satisfies every major requirement in the tile industry for lippage, which is a fancy word for a bump from one stone to the next. All right. Lippage is a very small issue in the world of tiling. Integrity and durability and the ability to last long term. That's what you should be focused on. You got lippage that just means your tile guy's lazy. But he can be very good at not having lippage. Use the wrong product. Use the wrong underlayment. Not climatize the product properly. Buy the product and drive it to your house in the middle of the winter and then install it. Set it in the garage where it's unheated. All kinds of issues. I've seen it all. I've uninstalled it all. I've seen companies who organized a major renovation. Somebody didn't show up for work. Subcontractors, big surprise. That happens. And then the project manager will get a call because they're never on site, right? He'll make a phone call, and before you know it, someone will be out there on a project that's supposed to be getting sanded on the drywall and primed that day. Instead of sanding and priming, he sends some guy out there because they've got plywood on site. And they'll install all the subfloor for the entire job before the sanding. And anyway, so then what happens? The sanders come, It's not their job to provide site protection to that job. They're there to sand drywall. So they do their job. They're paid to sand. And then that project manager who thought he saved his bacon by making somebody do something that day because the customer's upset. What's he end up doing? He doesn't create a work order to clean up all of the dust from the sanding before the tilers come in. So then some tiler comes in, who's getting paid crap money because he's a subcontractor. He doesn't really care. It's the company's job to manage the site, not his. Blah, blah, blah. He'll turn around. He'll install tile in a brand new addition with a $80,000 kitchen getting installed over top of it. And he'll install it on the dust. Yeah. And then 3 months later, I get a call and it's like the warranty department wants to know why this tile is cracking. So I go out and take a look. It's because of a sheer incompetence on so many levels. Not my work, but this is the kind of crap that goes on out there. So knowing how to do this yourself and doing it yourself, not paying someone to do it, is a secret to making sure that you get something that lasts a long time. Now, unfortunately, the story that I'm talking about, the homeowner was screwed because it was about 4 or 5 months from when this happened to when I was out there to find out what happened. And by the time I arrived and pulled my first tile and found a mountain of drywall dust underneath the stone, and then I figured out exactly what happened. Before I got there, the tile that he had installed in his brand new addition, kitchen, dining, living area addition, the whole area, probably 8,000-9,000 square feet. Beautiful cabinetry right on top of that tile because that's the sexy look, right? This poor guy, that stone was discontinued. And he didn't have another 800 square feet laying around. So he didn't have the ability to just replace cracked tile as it happened, right? No. They had to arrange to completely remove his entire kitchen and do the project the second time after removing the floor and installing brand new tile. Now, the amazing part is some companies out there will actually honor that contract. I'm getting stuck on this little clip. I am getting jammed in here. Okay, there we go. And so the company did the right thing. They honored the contract and they honored their warranty. But that was an awful lot of honoring for having no bloody clue. Which is one of the reasons why I'm here today, teaching people how to do things themselves. Because if you can do it yourself, you can avoid the frustration. You can build equity in your house. You can learn new skills. You can become independent of the system that's designed to keep people from getting ahead. Like, ask anybody. Life's expensive right now. Why in the heck would you want to pay after-tax dollars to hire a company who have to pay tax on the money that they make, to hire people who they have to pay tax to after they get paid for doing their job, to go do something they're all under pressure to do from people that haven't got enough training to do the job right, from companies who are understaffed to provide the proper support to make sure the project gets done right in the first place. It's a real mind-boggling scenario. Anyway, that's my mission in life now, guys, is to help people like you do projects like this, get them done right the first time, to that level of perfection that only you are going to care about, so that you can be proud of where you live. All right. Now, I'm done in here. We're going to take some questions out in the breezeway now that the sun has gone down and the lighting is not an issue. So join us there. We're going to do Q&A for a little while. We're going to take some calls. If you have questions, I'm happy to help. Tell me where you live, how old your house is, and help me to formulate the building science of the problem surrounding you. And don't worry about this. This is just a flesh wound. I'll be fine. I just need a couple minutes to clean off my tools. And We'll be right into the comment section. Cheers. All right. There we go. Now, where is my little pail? My little pail is way over there. Now. Okay, got it. Whew. Needed my sponge. All right. All right, so I am Jeff Thorman from Home Renovision DIY. And if you're unfamiliar with our channel, we specialize in helping homeowners and small businessmen in the trades learn their business so that they can be successful in their home renovations, be successful in their projects, go from one level of amazing understanding and ability to the next, become not just proficient, but formidable in the trades and in business. And if you're a homeowner learning how to renovate your own house because you can't find a contractor, you're not alone. Back in 2008, about 5% of the population of North America were contractors who were ready to retire in the next few years. They lost their life savings. And so they all had to work longer. And then the pandemic happened, and then the value of houses went up, and the value of labor went up, and then people didn't want to work anymore. And well, they've all recovered their losses, and now they're retired for sure. They're gone. They're gone. Okay? All the most skilled people in North America left. All right? All the generals in the army, I mean, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 star, they're all gone. Okay? It's up to the non-commissioned officers to run all the contracting companies out there now. That's a great analogy when you think about it. So, if you can't afford a really good contractor, you're getting somebody who's wet behind the ears, who's never seen action, running your job site. Now, if that's you and you're watching my channel and you got things to learn, that's okay. We're here to help. But if you're a homeowner, you really need help. And that's why we're here. I'm filthy. I just finished the tile job, and that's okay. So if you got questions, jump in. Matt, I'm all yours, buddy. My son is back in Ottawa. He's managing the stream. He's managing the cameras. He's managing the questions for me. And just making sure that my phone is available. It's on. And it is. If you have a phone call, you want to discuss your problem, happy to take it. And Matt's just going to throw questions up, and we're going to have a little conversation for a little bit. Cheers. I have no concept what the chat is. I'm not live in the chat, so unfortunately, I can't enjoy this. We're going to fix that for the next time. All right. We're going to do this again live, working with Jeff for 4 or 5 hours, 2 weeks from now. If you're joining us right now, that'll be fun. It's going to be a drywall and taping day, so we'll tackle a different trade. Anyway, Matt, if you're there, I'm sure you're there. I can't tell anything. I'm just flying by the seat of my pants over here. Here we go. That man is right on time. Riley here. Do you have any experiences with PVC panels with a marble look for bathroom walls? I live in the Netherlands. Is wondering how they compare to tiles. Any big cons? First of all, Riley, cheers to Netherlands. Whenever you're dealing with shower waterproofing technology, there's 2 aspects of it: water diversion and then waterproofing. So before your panels go up, as long as the walls behind your panels are waterproofed, usually just a roll-on membrane is plenty. Right down onto the integrated shower or tile flange. Okay? Shower flange, sorry. You're fine. Then whatever aesthetic panel system you want to use, as long as it's designed for wet spaces, which it will be, you're going to be okay. They're going to silicone the joints, and that's fine. But as long as what's behind it is also waterproof and diverts water to the drain. Those are the 2 elements, okay? Never trust silicone by itself. Water will get in behind it at some point down the road, somewhere, somehow. Is the wall behind it waterproof? That gives you your longevity. Cheers. Great question. With tile size, if I have a shower that's 36-48, would 12-24 tile be appropriate for that size shower, standard 8-foot ceiling? Okay, so 36-48 generally is 4 feet wide, 3 feet out. That's to the edge of your shower pan. A 24-inch tile is going to be 1.5 tiles to the edge of the shower pan, but you don't want to stop there. You want to go a few inches past that. So you're going to have a fair amount of waste. Okay? Because if you stop right where the shower pan is, water is still going to get past it, and then it's going to damage the wall board and the baseboard trim that's there. So if you give yourself a few inches for that splash over or whatever, you're great. If you're going to use a glass door system, then you can stop right on the edge of the tub, 1.5 tiles out, and you're laughing. Then you're great. Because you also have this. A 36-inch is from the framing. So your back wall adds a 1/2 inch for your tile board. You're down to 35.5 inches. And then if you tile the back wall first, that usually is almost another 1/2 inch. And so you really only have 35 inches. So you can come out plus a grout space, an inch, right? Yeah, it's really close. It looks a little stupid having your tile 1 inch past the tub or the shower pan. Okay, 1 inch is stupid. You want to get about 3 or 4, or go right off the edge. So if you cut every tile right where the shower pan ends, then it can look really sleek and sexy if you have a complete enclosed glass door. All right, cheers. Jason Pereira, how you doing, buddy? Here's a member of the channel. Jason, he's been around forever. He's almost as old as I am. He's probably older. Who knows? Yeah, I just know that he's been asking me questions. He's been on a long-going project. And guys, that's part of what membership is for, right? We're here to help. I know I'm not always the fastest guy to answer. I'm not like answering bat signals over here, but if you're in a project and you're trapped and you're strapped, give me a question, hit our forum up. Jason wants to know if I got diagonal 1x4 plank subfloor, 1960s, 1940s. Before that, we all went horizontal plank. But yeah, the diagonal was great. Can I install hardwood flooring in a parallel direction to the joist? Yeah. Now here's the only thing, Jason. That 1x4, is it tongue and groove or is it overlay? Okay. And by that is, let's take a look at the cross section. This is a great question because I've seen both. And I don't know how old your house is, so I can't tell you. Here's your floor joist. All right. We'll throw on 2 just for fun. Now, traditionally, a board would go straight across. Okay. He's got a house where the boards are like on an angle. Okay. And the joists go like this. And so he wants to know if he can put his hardwood parallel to this joist so it'd be going straight across. In theory, yeah, because you can always just put the nail where the wood's going to be. But here's the thing. And that is a really crude drawing. I hope I followed it all. There are 2 kinds of solid wood joist systems out there, or subfloor systems. One is an overlay. It's like shiplap on a floor. Okay? And then the next piece will be like this. Oh, sorry, my bad. Okay, and they shiplap. And then they can go diagonally across the floor. The other one is tongue and groove, where the board has got this going on, and the next board is doing the Tetris piece with it, okay? That's tongue and groove. If it's a tongue and groove floor, then you just simply throw in 2 screws on every joist location on that board, and that'll make your board flat. If it's cupped because of whatever situation over time, then you're going to have to put plywood over top before you install your hardwood. Generally speaking, if it's tongue and groove, you're fine. Go ahead and nail away. Just be careful because that wood is getting old and it splits easy and it doesn't always hold the nail that well. All right, which is why adding a layer of plywood, it gives you that stability of using like a staple to put your hardwood in. Even like a 3/8 plywood screwed down into that system is going to give you that bite so that your hardwood doesn't start squeaking in a few years. Old subfloors are strong, but they split easy. And it's because of the splitting that those nails can come loose. And then the deflection of people walking works that staple loose and it starts to move and squeak. And that's what you don't want. So a little bit of plywood will go a long way in that scenario to giving you that long-lasting quality that all the work that you're putting into that project is going to, deserve. All right. We do have the phone working, guys. If you've got a question you want to talk to me, by all means. Otherwise, well, there we go. It's unknown. All right. Hello, Jeff here. Who am I speaking with?
It's Kiana.
Kiana, how are you doing tonight? Is it tonight yet?
Great.
What can I do to help you out, darling?
I got a question. My grandmother's house is like 1950, Atlanta, Georgia.
Yep.
And in the bathroom, I think that bath has been there since then. So it's like one of them real narrow tubs.
Okay.
But it's like the real tub, the real portion or whatever.
Yeah.
So we're thinking what's going to be easier for her is to make like a shower.
Okay.
But she has a lot of that copper going on.
Mm-hmm.
And like the water that's coming out there is not flowing. So we're thinking that maybe we should change it to the PEX. What do you think? Because, you know, it's like, well, you know, the copper's better. The copper's better.
Yeah, yeah. You know, here's the thing. If your water's not flowing with copper plumbing, going to PEX isn't going to solve your problem unless there's an obstruction in the water supply line. Like, are you in city or are you on a well?
No, they're not on the well. She's on the city.
Okay, so she's on the city. You should get 5 liters. Or actually, you see this? Go to the Home Depot and grab yourself a pail. Any pail from the Home Depot, full size pail. If that doesn't fill up within 60 seconds, you probably don't have enough water pressure in the house somewhere. You got a blockage. It shouldn't take more than a minute to put that under a tub to fill a pail of water. Now, give or take, be merciful, right? You don't go, hey, I was 8 seconds short, but because there's variance. But you should be able to fill a pail of water in about 1 minute off the tub spout. And if you can't do that, then there's a problem with your water supply line somewhere. All right.
Okay.
So
that's something probably we'll have to go bigger than that.
yeah, see, tubs are pretty much the only place where there's no restriction on the water supply. So you can find out if there's because you can have a water supply coming from the city underground, and it can be crushed or it can be leaking, and you don't have enough pressure in the house. All right.
Okay.
So if you can't fill that pail in about a minute, then call up somebody to come out from the city and say, hey, I think there's a problem with your water supply. And let them prove to you it's not them. Because they'll figure that out on their own dollar.
Okay.
All right?
I got one more thing.
Yeah. Don.
In the bathroom, she got one of them real tall, like the ceiling, I believe it's 10.
Beautiful. Beautiful. 1930s house, you said?
How? 50?
50s?
How?
Amazing.
How high would you go with the towel though? Because you know we're going to change it to shower, so you want a towel. Just how high would you go?
All right. So here's the thing. That's a design question more than a practical question.
Okay.
Do you have a fan in the room to exhaust the wet air?
She does, and it's way up there.
Okay. So if you have a fan,
No.
then you're not going to have too much wet, moist air hanging around to cause you a problem. All right. So then really all you got to do is go to 7 feet.
Okay.
Once you're at 7 feet, any higher than that, it's just a design or an aesthetic or finishing where the tile finishes off question. So you don't have to spend all that time and money tiling all the way to the ceiling.
Okay.
You're allowed to stop. Today's paint for inside a bathroom is pretty much bulletproof for moisture. You won't have any problems.
Okay, great.
All right. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for the call. Cheers.
All right.
There you go. Look at that. Saving the planet money and time, one person at a time. This is awesome. All right. Listen, if you got a question, give me a call. Otherwise, Matt, let's jump back right in. I'm sure he's got a whole list. All right, there we go. We got a question from Ozzy on the screen. We'll leave that there. I'm going to take this call from Connecticut. Hey, cheers. It's Jeff here. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, Jeff, it's Zach. I just talked to you earlier. You answered one of my questions. You told me to give you a call back.
Nice. Talk to me, dude. What's going on?
Hey, so we have a garage. We're in New England, actually, Connecticut, 1980s house.
Connecticut, 1980s. Okay. I thought you were in the South because we said it was blocked, but that's cool.
No, cinder block. And then the garage is definitely doesn't have a vapor barrier under the concrete. It gets pretty moist in the summertime, and
yes,
it's always effervescent.
Yes.
Just trying to put a little lipstick on the pig, so to speak.
No, fair enough.
So I was asking about finishing the walls off. Was planning to just do some basic, either steel studs or some like a pressure treated, 2x4, and then some regular 2x4s on top. Been watching your videos for a long time, so just some random ideas kicking around in my head.
So the garage, is this something you want to turn into like a workspace, or just something that like stays dry and clean?
Just a little bit drier, a little bit cleaner.
Okay.
Like prevent the car doors from bumping into the cinder blocks, stuff like that. So.
Yeah. Okay. Here, try this one out. You're gonna love it. You might get a real advantage out of just doing something, either one or two options. One, you could insulate a little bit. You could go with like a 1/2 inch rigid foam, okay, on the inside of that block. And what that's going to do is that's going to be a thermal break, so you don't get that condensation moisture issue from inside outside, right? And then you can actually hang drywall right on that. So you put your 1/2 inch rigid foam, put it on with some PL 200, or you guys use Loctite 200, okay?
Yep.
And it's designed for foam board installation on panels. And you can drywall it with an adhesive right over top. You can also use Tapcon screws to attach drywall to masonry brick over the insulation. So 6 screws for a 4x8 sheet of drywall is plenty, if you put a little bit of adhesive on the back of it and slap it onto that rigid foam. Now, if you don't want to worry about the thermal break, you could just add strapping, like pieces of 1x3 to your masonry block, and trap an airspace in there, and you can drywall right over top of that.
I like the idea of the rigid foam. It's the way our house is situated is we have like a family room above it.
Oh,
So
you do? Okay, so
really
that thermal break will make a big difference in the wintertime.
Yeah, like above it is drywalled, and then there's some duct work that runs through, and it's kind of like drywalled.
Yep.
But we also have like on the one wall, it's like a lot of like our electrical service entrance and some like a power wall and some other stuff going on. So
there you
I
go.
was gonna just do one wall at a time. I didn't know how to handle the other wall with all those. That would be like a Swiss cheese, like all the holes we'd have to cut.
Yeah. Well, you know what? In a situation like that, getting to 85 or 90% of a thermal break will make a dramatic difference. It really will, because your slab of that garage, within 2 feet of your outside wall, it's going to be 10 degrees. So it is a heat source. People forget that the floor is a heat source. The ground is warm. And so
it's partially under, like on one side, partially against the ground, like you said.
Yeah, well, even the ground underneath, and so frost has to push down to then come across, and the same distance that it goes down, it goes across. It's like, because it's the distance from the cold air. That's how frost travels. So any garage has got a heat source, because the frost doesn't meet into the middle underneath the garage. So you do have a heat source, and you create a thermal break. You'd be surprised, just changing that garage temperature like 5 or 10 degrees in the wintertime will make a significant difference in what's going on upstairs.
Okay.
All right.
And then when it meets the floor, like the foam meets the floor, you just let it sit right on the
Let the foam meet the
or
floor. That's not going to hurt nothing. Just leave the drywall about a 1/2 inch off.
1/2 inch off.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's plenty.
That I think I'll try that, because like our garage doors are insulated. We have a wall that's insulated between where the garage and the rest of the house
Right.
is.
And so if your garage door is insulated and your walls aren't, you paid good money for nothing. Yeah. Right?
All right.
Yeah. You can't wear
Yeah,
you can't wear a winter jacket on the back only, right? You gotta cover the whole body, dude.
Yeah, I just have my toque on, but no,
Just the
no
toque.
mittens.
Yeah, no shirt and a toque. Now you're talking like a Canadian. That's awesome. All right.
Well, we're from upstate New York, so
I know.
they used to think we were from.
Yeah, no, it's you're getting December and February Canada weather, but you're not getting January.
Oh yeah.
Cheers, Zach. I appreciate the call, buddy.
Thanks.
Good luck with your project, man.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah. Bye-bye. That is awesome. Okay, Matt, let's just pull that question back up real quick. That's funny. Yeah, upstate New York. Oh, okay. Yeah, Connecticut. I know. But guys, it's East Coast, right? Like the jet stream travels so far north of you most of the time, you don't really see the Arctic winter that we get in Ottawa. I recently had a contractor epoxy over a cement patio underneath this part of basement. Poor job, not leveled prior. Diamond sanded the old tile off unevenly. It's a mess. Is it easy to epoxy again? Here's the thing about epoxy. It's like a self-leveler. So if you're not happy the first time, you can epoxy onto the epoxy. And sooner or later, it'll level out. but like, guys, listen, when you're hiring contractors, okay, know your own process, know the steps, inspect the steps. Don't inspect the finished product. You know, when in your own trade or your own business, your own profession, you know when something's going wrong long before you finish a project, right? Like if you're a heart surgeon and somebody cuts somebody open with an axe, right away, you know this guy's not a professional, right? When Chevy Chase shows up and spies like us, and hello, doctor, you know the guy's a fool. So don't wait until he finishes the job to then say, by the way, I'm not happy with what you did. Ha ha. You're screwed. He'll just walk away and leave you with a mess. All right. Mineola, Texas. Hello, Jeff here. Oh, can I get you to turn off the other device, please?
Yeah.
Here we go. How you doing?
Just fine. How are you?
I'm good,
I
man.
got a 19. It was built in between 1918 and 1945 is when it was finished.
All right.
The walls are hollow.
Yes, sir.
How would you go? Because the flooring was done, then the walls were built.
Yep.
How would you insulate your walls?
Why do you want to insulate your walls?
Because I'm in the state of Texas, and my electric bill was like, even on the average, was
Okay.
$375
Okay. And so,
on average.
is this because it's you're hot enough in Texas that the air conditioning is killing you? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can't. We got window units, so they're doing what they can, but it just goes right back out the window and out the holes and
Gotcha.
the floor. And there's other things we need to. I also need to think about redoing the bathroom and putting. I don't know if it's safe to put a tile on a wall that moves all the time.
Yeah, unfortunately, if you don't have that thermal break in your wall, it's going to be a lot of expansion and contraction, and you're going to have a hard time with your tile work. I totally get that.
Yeah.
So then what you do is you have to install something like a Schluter foam board that does not expand and contract. Okay. So then you let the wall expand and contract behind your foam board while the foam board doesn't move, and then your tile is safe. But let's deal with your insulation question first, because your house was built back before air conditioning was invented. Right? And so all people did back then was sweat.
I've done some research on it. They said back when it was built, they felt like it was keep the house cooler during the summer with wind blowing up through the bottom, through the holes.
Yeah.
Which it does.
Sure. And if you can have a taller ceiling, that helps. But listen, at the end of the day, here you are wanting to air condition. There's two choices for your house. What is on the outside of your house, your facade? Is it brick or is it
Right
wood?
now, it's aluminum siding.
It's aluminum siding. Okay.
Yeah.
Aluminum siding is really old. Do you have any idea if you have a foil insulation on the outside of your building?
I think there is a small layer, but
Yeah. So a bit of deflection for radiation from the sun, but that's about it. Okay. So if you want to insulate and your inside is a drywall, you said?
yes.
Okay. You can actually call up an insulation company, and what they do is they specialize in blowing in cellulose material into wall cavities. Okay. It's like brown paper fiber. All right. And so what they do is they use a stud locator across the ceiling, right on the wall by the ceiling. They identify the middle of all of those wall cavities. They'll drill a hole and they'll stick a pipe in it and fill that void up with cellulose insulation. And that'll give you like about an R13, R14 value in that stud cavity. And then all you got to do is patch all the holes. So we have.
Well, the problem is it's all right on the ground because the walls are literally hollow.
Okay, so you have balloon construction right past the floor into the basement.
Yeah.
All right. So then what you can.
In Texas, we don't have basements here, but.
Okay. All right. So are you a two-story home then?
It's one story.
So what is the bottom of your? Is it a crawl space?
It's a beer beam.
Oh, it's a beam. Okay. So okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's always this thing.
I'm not trying to keep trying to keep rats out is another story too.
Well, that's the other thing. Cellulose isn't going to do anything for that. They're going to love the bedding.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to suggest. Take a look at your southern walls where the sun is shining the most and take the drywall off if it's possible. Put bats of mineral wool in the bottom of your stud bays. Okay?
Yeah.
And that'll help to keep the mice and rats from wanting to come in. They hate eating through that. It's like stone. It's actually spun rock. Okay?
Yeah.
And they don't eat that. And then on the top part of the wall, you can put fiberglass bats, which are a lot cheaper in most cases. And then just do the new drywall, but start with the southern wall. Okay? And see how much effort versus return on that investment you get before you commit to the other walls that aren't seeing the same effect of the sun. Because the rest of the house is kind of sitting in the shade.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So if you can deal with that southern facing wall, that's the lion's share of the work. Start with that.
Yeah.
And then you can decide whether or not it's worth the time and energy. Sometimes old houses are just old houses, and it's unfortunate that energy isn't cheaper, but it is what it is right now. And you might find that it's more time and energy worth than trying to save a few $100 a month.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just like, it's
Okay. Good.
depending how handy you are. If you love doing drywall, then you're in great shape. But if doing drywall and paint,
Oh,
by the time you tear it off and put in new insulation and drywall and paint, you're gonna have to, if you cut your energy bill by 50%, it's still gonna take you 10 or 15 years to recover your cost to do the job yourself.
so in other words, the best thing to do is just put new windows in, the best windows you can, and go with that way.
You know, sometimes, changing your windows would be a great idea. The siding actually is probably the most intriguing part of the project, because aluminum siding, if you take it off, you can take it back to the recycler and get paid for it. And then you got an opportunity to put some rigid foam on the outside of the house and actually insulate really effectively without affecting your drywall.
Yeah.
And then you go back with like a vinyl siding, which is relatively cheap.
Yeah.
It's a lot less disruptive than tearing apart the inside of the walls, because then your whole house is filthy, right? So I would probably approach this from outside and try to get like a 2-inch rigid foam, and then put on a vinyl siding after the fact.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think outside might be a better return on your investment, and it's a hell of a lot better lifestyle while you're working on it. And then that way you can start on the southern facing wall and deal with the rest of it as you get there.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Good luck to you, my friend.
All right.
The good news is, by the time you're done learning all those skills, you got weekend work for the rest of your life.
If I get around to, I fell and crushed my spine in 2000, so.
Oh, nuts. Well, you know what? Then in that case, siding is a lot easier to manage than drywall, my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So consider that.
All right.
All right. All the best
All
to
right,
you.
thank you.
All right, bud. Cheers. Wow. Crushed his spine. That's tough. My God. Yeah, when you have physical limitation, really consider what is the lightest building product that you got to carry. Rigid foam and siding. 8-year-old can manage that installation with the right guidance. All right. Well, listen. Let me hit you up with your questions. We're going to take a few more questions. I think we're almost done at the end of the show. Guys, we're doing another live show 2 weeks from now. We're doing it inside the property. We're doing drywall and taping and mudding. We're doing it live. We're going to train you guys how to do it. We're going to answer all your questions. Join us. It's going to be about the same thing around 2 o'clock. More details to come. We'll be advertising it on our homepage at least a week before we put it up. Okay. If you like this kind of content, if you missed the rest of the show, make sure you watch it later on. Okay, we've got a bunch of questions in there. I did some surveys and that kind of stuff. Really want to try to get some feedback from you guys so we know exactly what it is that you're looking for, how we can be the most help to you so you can be successful in your renovation. That's really our goal here, okay? Man, this is a perfect time of day to be out here too. I got control of the light. The neighbors are really agreeable. No one's cutting their grass. This is great. Anyway, Matt, if you got a couple more questions, The phone line's open, and we'll just wrap up with a couple of member questions. If Matt, you got some back there. Hi Jeff, can't find a contractor either. Yeah, big surprise. If I want to do exactly what you're doing, should I also pull up the tub to place the Schluter underneath? No necessary. If you have a tub, you leave the tub in place, okay, and you bring the Schluter up to the tub, and you always stop all of your materials 1/4 inch from the tub, because the tub is going to deflect when it fills up with water and you're walking in and out of it or using it as a shower. Or if you're in a wood structure, the structure deflects and there's always this rubbing, squeaking noise that comes up. All right. So tubs should be avoided. Leave that little gap, finish your tile about 1/8 of an inch from the tub, and then use a bead of silicone to finish. Remember, proper tile installation always requires silicone to transition from any tile surface to another material or a different plane of tile surface. So floor to wall or floor to anything else should be silicone. The only time we don't follow that rule is when we're putting baseboard trims and casings on. All right. And that's it. Tubs are fine. If it's in place and it's working, don't touch what ain't broken. Especially if you're going to put it back when you're done. That's not necessary. The tub is sitting and transferring weight to all the different floor joists. It doesn't need any extra structural support that the Dietra would offer. All righty. Well, one more question from Jason Pereira. Hey, Jeff, follow up. Technically, if the hardwood is laid parallel to the joist, some hardwood planks would only be attached to the diagonal plank, subfloor plywood, and not the joist. Yeah, listen, the goal with hardwood installation is not to get the staple into the joist. It's into the plank attached to the joist. All right. You're basically laminating those two pieces of wood together. The diagonal pieces should be screwed to the floor joist. All right. Everything else, joist, diagonal subfloor, okay? Screw it, hardwood. Staple it. Everywhere where there's, staple it. Everywhere in between, staple it. Just don't put staples where you know there's a gap, and you're going to be fine. All right, that's the installation. Because what this does, that tongue and groove of the hardwood transfers load to the joist, transfers to the joist. And then you're stapling the hardwood to this, and you're making a sandwich that helps eliminate deflection. In really old houses, 1905, they didn't even have the subfloor. All they did was 3/4 inch hardwood straight across from joist to joist, 16 inch on center. This will blow your mind. It'll really set your mind at ease, actually, knowing this. Okay? Old houses, joist, 16 inches on center. Okay? And they would just strap hardwood like this, straight across. And then when they wanted a wall, they just put a wall somewhere. They didn't even care. They just build a wall 1 foot away from a joist. They didn't even care. And this wall could be structural. It could be load-bearing from the roof. That's how much they trusted that oak hardwood back in the old days. So the fact that you have an extra piece of wood there doesn't make it any worse. It actually makes it stronger. Just make sure it's screwed flat so that when you integrate this all together, it beefs up the strength and you don't have things moving around causing issues. All right. Well, that's it for me today. I'm pretty much done. I am baked like a chicken. I am out of gas like a guy on the side of the road. This has been a hell of a day. I really enjoyed it. We have been live now doing work. Wow, almost 4 hours. All right. This is great. If you have information or questions about flooring and tile and all that jazz, watch this video from the beginning. We answered at least 100 questions today. We talked about our program. We talked about our procedures. We talked about our products. We talked about our tools. You can do this stuff on your own. You don't have to be relying on other people. Learn the skills. Be independent. Build value in your own asset. Okay? You can make more money fixing up your house than you can at your job. I'm telling you right now. It's money in the bank. Tax-free profit. I know the economy sucks right now. You can't even sell a house if you're trying. But all of this will change. Elections are coming. These problems will be gone soon enough. And not because maybe you're going to have a change in policy, but because every politician fixes the economy just before an election so they can say we fixed it. Come on now. You know I'm telling the truth. Listen, no matter what happens in life, if things are bad, they can get worse. So take a look at all the time that you've got available. What you do with that time is going to be up to you. You can spend it fixing your place up and increasing your asset value so that you are better positioned to withstand the tribulations of the day Or you can complain about the problem and waste all your time on TikTok and don't learn a damn thing. It's your call. It's your life. But if you're part of the DIY crew, you're kind of my people. My people are people who want to grab life and then make something out of what they've got left over. Whatever time you got, whatever energy you got, whatever money you got, invest in yourself, invest where you live, because that is money in the bank down the road. Things are going to get better, and then you will be positioned to benefit from all of that hard work while everybody else is complaining about how expensive life was. You are investing in yourself and investing in your future, and you will come out on top. Cheers. Till next time.